As part of the University of Pretoria, the Future Africa Institute and Campus has established a vibrant, collaborative space that provides access to the benefits of interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research for the leading young minds of tomorrow.
Future Africa has been created at University of Pretoria to respond to a unique requirement of the African development, which is the adequacy between research and daily social transformation. Transdisciplinarity means collaboration, and to get collaboration we need a space to do this interaction.
Our globally sustainable infrastructure and world-class facilities have created a resident scientist scholarly community that works collectively to bring growth and transformation. Through innovative methods, we combine the knowledge of researchers through Pan-African networks that extend beyond disciplines and geopolitical boundaries. The environment we have created thus develops young scientists in transdisciplinary research and science leadership committed to creating an impact in our communities. In aligning with UP's focus on the Sustainable Development Goals, we have based our approach on several themes. These focus on connecting the people of Africa, developing sustainable food systems, ensuring the health and well-being of African communities, empowering individuals through transformative education opportunities, and ensuring equity as well as sustainability in a global Africa. It is Future Africa's unique platform that allows us to continue setting the standard for transforming the world through African research excellence.
Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, students, partners, participants across South Africa. And I've also seen we have people joining from across Africa and even the United Kingdom. It is absolutely our immense pleasure and honor to have you here at the UNICEF and Future Africa at the University of Pretoria Youth Forum. The theme of this event, as you might have seen in all the materials, is Reimagine Education Tomorrow, our time, our turn, and our future. Now, in consideration of the impact COVID has had on learning and teaching opportunities, we are also very much aware that this has impacted the youth in tremendous ways, not only in terms of health considerations, but also economic impacts. And that is why specifically with this event today, we don't want it to be the researchers and the facilitators and people within governments and organizations to present on behalf of youth and students. The aim specifically today is to celebrate the experiences of youth and students across all sectors of society, across various abilities as well. Therefore, without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to ask a student, Palesa Mabonde, to please continue with the opening session. Now, Palesa is an Andrew W. Mellon student at the University of Pretoria, currently doing her master's in political science. Palesa, we are very happy to have you here. And for everybody else, do enjoy the session and please don't hesitate to share your comments or questions, both in the chat or on our online platform. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to Future Africa and UNICEF Youth Forum. I am Palesa Mbonde, and I will be facilitating the opening session. It is my pleasure to welcome and introduce, on behalf of Future Africa, Professor Shapeshifters. He is the director of Future Africa. He says that the African continent is undergoing many positive trends in terms of higher education, acceleration of the use of modern technologies, new visions for capacity building, and connecting research to policy and business. Sharing knowledge becomes the main drive for development as it opens opportunities for the youth and vulnerable groups. In light of the limited time that we have about 5 minutes. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Palesa. I trust you can hear me loud and clear from my side. Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you everyone who managed to be in this meeting. when we initiated the UNICEF project, it was all intended to be a heavy investment of full attention to the youth under the condition of COVID, but in general, the youth under condition of crisis. Because we had a strong belief that the higher education in Africa should play a strong role for what we call the demographic dividend. Africa is certainly the youngest country with more than 60% of its population below 25 years. It's a country where the new demand for jobs is the highest every year because of the new generation being trained in our universities and in professional spheres coming to the job market with little set of opportunities. And a great deal of looking for opportunity will rely on the trust that you need to establish between the youth and the society. And that cannot be achieved without having a framework through which the young engage to each other, they learn new techniques, they get confidence, they're self-accomplished, and they can achieve what they want to achieve with the right mentorship and the right support by all means. So my talk today would be to reinvigorate a number of principles or standing that Future Africa has to support the youth. And those 5 bullet points are the following. The first is, how do we really make impact from the research that is meaningful to the youth? How do we make sure that when we do training, we do it in a way that addresses the employability, the entrepreneurship skills, the attitude, the aspiration of the young people? So the impact should be demonstrated. For many years, for many decades, after your training, the first question you ask is what I'm gonna do. No job shadowing, a little bit of mentorship. Internship was very, very seldom. So Future Africa is trying to reverse the linkage and make sure that our youth find a good pathway to lead to the new opportunities that are coming ahead in the job market. So impact should be there. The second keyword to me is the purpose. The purpose of higher education. The reason why UNICEF is also interested in that. UNICEF has been for a long time, you all know, working with small child, women, fertility and health. But now UNICEF is interested on the over 20 years, and that is an appeal, a call for higher education to play another role. And we need to rediscover our purpose, not only to make a great brain of people through the training we establish, but also to create the psychological mindset, the standing for the youth, to get the purpose of being the frontliner for the transformation of the society. We need to tell you, and we need to work with you and co-design the pathway through which you would know your role in society and start playing that role with a new purpose. And there's a saying which is saying that if you do something for me and you do it without me, it becomes something you do against me. And this session we are having today is a way to engage with you and make sure that we're not on the driving seat. You are driving the process. We're just there to learn from you. We reverse the linkage on another way, that the knowledge will not come from us to you, but it will come from you to us. And that is this kind of new purpose we want to put in place in this UNICEF program. The third prong, which I would be glad to share with you, is a prong about action. Most of you have been so much engaged with society, with communities, in the clusters you have. You have not been just doing research and activities in your office or in your laboratory. You have been doing something which is meaningful to society. And this connection, the glue, the crossroad between the youth and the society is something that can trigger action. And Future Africa is absolutely, trying to promote that, because without action, transformation will never happen. So discovery, yes. Innovation, yes. But transformation, yes. And without action, you can't get transformation done. That's the third point, action. The fourth one is about the sharing of experience. Rachel mentioned it in the beginning. There are so many different profiles and needs people working on augmentative communication, other working on One Health. The Pathfinder group are there to do, some engagement with society, so many different perspectives. And those perspectives are very complementary to create a genuine progress of society towards a better well-being. So sharing experience, doing transdisciplinarity engagement, making sure that everyone learns from other what you need to do differently to improve your influence on society is certainly something we're trying to achieve in this forum as well. And last but not least, the focus on crisis. The situation of COVID has opened our eyes that our society did not have all the readiness condition to face crisis. And health is one, but we have so many environmental crises, flooding, bushfires, locust invasion. If you go across Africa, there's so many daily crises that are happening. And without having the youth as agents of transformation, as frontliners, getting the right skills and being ready to face those challenges, the African society would be long lagging behind in terms of responsive ability against those crises. So we need to be mindful that this kind of crisis will happen again in the future, and we should be really preparing our society for that. And the best way to prepare the future against crisis is to prepare the youth to be the frontliner to face those crises. These are the five areas of importance that I wanted to put on the table, knowing that the discussion will bring all those points afloat, and we're looking forward to your conclusions that will be very, very useful for us to design and keep working with you and other programs with our partners, indeed UNICEF, who I thank so warmly for giving us this opportunity and for chaperoning this process all along. Over to you, Palisa. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, am I more audible this time? Thank you. Thank you, Prof, for the very insightful presentation. It is now my privilege and pleasure to introduce Professor Stephanie Burton, who was appointed as Vice Principal responsible for the research and postgraduate education at the University of Pretoria in 2011 to 2020. She continues to champion research at Future Africa as Strategic Research Advisor. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody. Can I just check that I'm audible? All okay? Thank you. So yes, my role in Future Africa is really all about research and what research we do and how we do it. But let me just take a step back and say, well, first of all, what is research and why do we do it? So what is it? Well, it's all about asking questions, and it's about making discoveries, and it's about creating new knowledge, finding things out that we didn't know before. And why do we do that? Well, we do that because partly we know that society needs it. We know that we have many challenges, many problems, for example, post-pandemic, but there have always been questions asked, and there have always been people seeking answers. So that's what it's all about. It's a question of saying, what do we need to sort out? What are the problems that we have? What are the challenges? And those are the things where we need to ask questions to find solutions. But there's a more exciting part about research too. The fact that you maybe have in your head questions that are about why things are, or what happens in certain circumstances. So what are the questions that you would like to ask, and what are the answers you would like to find? That's what we say at the University of Pretoria, and part of Future Africa's thinking as well, is what is it that matters? What are the questions that we would like to have answers for? So I think the challenge for you today as youth thinking about the future is to say to yourself, what matters to you? And what are the questions you have, and what would you like to answer? We have a mantra at the university. We say, we do research that matters. So here's the challenge for everybody who is doing research. That is to say, what matters? And what research do we need to do? What questions do we need to answer in order to make things better and solve problems? Future Africa has a lot of research that is focused on African challenges, particularly those specific to our region. So they're around health, education, human rights, communication, African sustainability, productivity. These are all very broad questions that we ask, and we say, what are the challenges in Africa? How can we solve those? And that's what Future Africa does. We talk about our research being excellent and answering the challenges in Africa by doing research for Africa in Africa. So I hope that as you go through this day and you talk about the matters that are important to you, you'll be thinking about the questions that you have and what research you might do to answer those questions, whether it's now or in the future. So I think that's what it's all about in terms of research. I hope you'll think about it and take a look at the Future Africa website to see some of the research programs that we are already involved with. I hope you'll have a really well spent day, that you'll enjoy it and that you'll find it very stimulating. And you'll come out of it with some more questions in your minds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for the very insightful presentation. And now to present is Dr. Andile Dube from UNICEF South Africa. Doctor, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. We're struggling a little bit with connection, and most of you expected to see Dr. Otieno, and unfortunately, he's struggling a little bit with joining. He's going to join later and also say a few words. I'm Andile Dube. I'm from the UNICEF in a section that deals with education and adolescence development. We're very excited to be part of this engagement, and we're very excited to see some of these interventions grow. And thank you very much for the great facilitator that we have. It's always great to see the faces and the voices of young people leading programs like this. As you know, in South Africa in June, it is Youth Month, and whilst we're commemorating Youth Month, the UNICEF has partnered with University of Pretoria, Future Africa, and other sections. But with this program, we really about scaling up interventions that are focused on skill building and capacity to respond to the to the COVID-19 pandemic. We're very excited that the Future Africa has hosted this intervention, this session, and many other similar interventions. Just to say that Future Africa has been a great partner in the sense that even though we are partnering in this year Youth Empowerment and Health Economic Response Program, but they've been partners who have allowed themselves and their platforms and their campus to actually provide spaces for other programs that we work with. And we are very thankful to you, Prof. And we are thankful to the entire leadership of the University of Pretoria and Future Africa. For us, COVID-19 really magnified some of the inequalities that exist for young people. We work with young people from ECD, early childhood development, to the latter part of education. And again, I mean, just looking at evidence, and in basic education, we are looking at learning losses. For adolescents, we are looking at mental health issues. We are looking at issues around employment and all the challenges that are aligned to school to work transition. We know South Africa is a home for more than 10 million young people between the ages of 15 to 24. And just that, and being such a huge percentage of the population means that the inequalities that have always existed in South Africa becomes even worsened during this time. It's always great to then partner with organizations that do not only concentrate on academic response, but also on how this can be implemented at community level, how this can benefit all youth at all levels, and how all of this programming can show impact for all those who would rather not have access. We're also excited that all the lessons that have been learned in South Africa have potential of being implemented in other geographies in Africa. But the fact that University of Pretoria is one of the less poorer university can share lessons with universities that are a little bit disadvantaged. Again, thanks to all of the focus area leads, and thank you for the leadership from Prof and the rest of the team. As COVID-19 continues to affect society, it also has once again exposed, as I said, how young people who are connected and those who aren't, those who can continue learning and who cannot continue learning, how that has exposed the context of South Africa, but also has expose the power of youth in this intervention, which is led and mainly get young people mobilized to generate and also to work on this. We're excited about that. I know Wycliffe is now on and I would let him join, but again, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's been part of the project, and thank you for the lessons, and thank you for providing platforms to ensure that we are able to collaborate with every other sector of society, but with other organizations that we work with, which relates to programs around Generation Unlimited and how we reimagine the future of young people, how we reimagine education, and how we take innovations that are led by young people and put them in the forefront and create platforms for those to grow. So I'm going to hand over to Wycliffe, who's already here, and see if we can say a few words on behalf of UNICEF. Thank you.
Prof, you're welcome to speak.
Hi everyone. Can you both hear and see me?
Yes.
Can I have a yes or something, or a thumbs up? Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Andile, Dr. Dube. Thank you, Prof. Mbo, and thank you, colleagues from UP, for making this session and platform possible. And my very sincere apologies that I've been so late. I'm actually in Limpopo, so I'm sitting in an office courtesy of one of the officers in the department. Really appreciate that. She's just stepped in. You must have seen her. A great pleasure to be with all of you and the UP, and particularly young people. Andile has said much in terms of the context and where we're coming from, but I just want to give a very short personal story. I am Kenyan and I come from Nairobi, and I lived in a particular neighborhood, and we had a collapse in terms of municipal services being provided. And then there was this young man who saw that particular problem as an entry point and as a business opportunity for him. What this young man did was that he started moving around from house to house, trying to see if they could actually accept private garbage collection by himself on foot. And he did that, and he got like 5 households that were willing to accept the service. What he then did was that he went and created an app and asked these 5 households to enroll on that particular app. And he went ahead and then identified young people within the particular estate, and told them that this particular house is on this street. You can use Google Maps to access it. So he got a group of young people who went ahead and found these particular locations on the app, and went in the households and identified one particular person and told them, collect garbage on these particular areas on this particular day, put them in central point. And then he linked up with somebody else who had the Baki and connected that person on the same app. So the person was being prompted when a garbage has been heaped together, then this guy would go and pick them and then take them to the dump site. The long and short is that from being an unemployed young person who just had a simple phone and saw an opportunity, that young person is now having 5 garbage trucks and is already starting a recycling plant. It took him less than 2 years to be able to do that. This was a serious problem created by municipal failure in provision of services. A young man saw it, used technology, and is now employing 80 people in 2 cities in 2 years. And his plan is to start a second garbage recycling plant in the second city, which is at the coast of Kenya. I am saying so just to show what self-drive and innovation and proactive thinking by young people can do in terms of solutions to economic problems, including unemployment. The partnership that we have with the University of Pretoria is around young people and in health and economic crisis. So the challenge I want to throw to us is UP brought you together in a collaboration with UNICEF to really brainstorm on ideas in terms of, one, what are the current challenges facing young people? What are the possible solutions that young people can actually provide? What space is provided by technology to be able to address those problems? What are the opportunities for collaboration amongst young people using tech and non-tech platforms to be able to provide solutions to these particular myriad problems that face young people? UP has put together a 5-faculty collaboration, partnering with UNICEF to exactly be able to address this and potentially go beyond the continent. We are therefore appealing to you as young people, see this as a big opportunity. See this as an avenue for you to hone your skills, for you to influence and impact somebody else, for you to change your destiny, and for you to be relevant to your society and be able to be a game changer in the respective society in which you live. I don't want to say more. This is basically the gist of what we are having here in promoting that particular dialogue, and let this be kind of an association formed from today going onwards, that we can brainstorm ideas, we can converge together, we can come and address a common problem, we can leverage the opportunities that are around us, we can turn every problem around us into an opportunity and use that particular opportunity to in turn impact the lives of others. UNICEF is here to work with you as young people under the auspices of Generation Unlimited, working with the University of Pretoria and other partners in government, in the private sector, in the philanthropy, in the multilateral development community, to be able to address these and therefore further the goal of Generation Unlimited beyond where we are now. That's it from me. Best wishes with the discussions. Apologies, I'm not able to be present. I'm going to the field right now, heading into another meeting in the afternoon and the whole of tomorrow. And I hope that at some point in time, I'll be able to attend this forum from beginning to the end. Thanks, Program Director, over and out.
Thank you, Doctor. I would like to extend my thanks to Professor Sambo, Professor Burton, Dr. Dube, and Dr. Otieno for opening our youth forum and allowing the voices of the youth to be heard and to lead the discourse, especially in consideration of Youth Month. This forum is truly a great platform to reimagine education tomorrow, because this indeed is our time, our turn, and our future. Thank you all. I now hand over to my colleague, Mr. Francois Gillespie. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Can you all hear me? Awesome. So good day, everyone. First of all, it's an absolute pleasure to be here today with you. My name is Francois Gilles de Pellicci. I'm an assistant lecturer at the University of Pretoria, and I'm also a master's student in political sciences. I'm also a young entrepreneur. I started a small record company a few years ago. These clusters focus on startup management skills and the experience of young entrepreneurs, as well as the challenges they face in their business endeavors. For the viewers, please feel free to share your own experience as well, or ask any questions to the panelists. The University of Pretoria has introduced the Startup Management and Entrepreneurial Skill course, which is designed as a unique hybrid course that is presented through Enterprise at UP. This course is focused on enhancing and understanding entrepreneurial awareness, orientation, intent, and action. However, the course focuses on more than just understanding and developing a sustainable idea or venture. Its aim is to help young entrepreneurs in improving the quality of life of individuals, communities, and the broader society. The panelists present today are all active students of this course and will share with us their experience and the challenges they faced as young entrepreneurs. The panelists present today with us are Mpumelelo Mkhize, Kolile Nkobo, Teboho Sebesho, Keotsepile Menoe, Meimuna Kamisi, Umpile Sheila, Sikulile Nguse, and Oscar Makwakwa. I will now let the panelists introduce themselves and let us know a little bit more about their experience, starting with Mpumelo.
Good morning all. I hope everyone is well. My name is Mpumelelo Mkize and I am a presenter for the cluster 1.1. I would like to briefly share my opinions and experiences during the program. The program was about teaching us the basics for entrepreneurship and starting your own business. And apart from the technical side of what we learned, I found the most useful lessons to be about the mindset an entrepreneur should have. It's not always easy working as an entrepreneur, and I fully understand that now because it requires a lot of dedication and sacrificing. Throughout the course, we learned a lot of practical work and theory work, which helped us understand a lot more about these topics. With that being said, I think my message to the youth is that it's all right to have a normal job if you're not capable of being an entrepreneur, because it's not meant for everyone, but it's still very important in our country and continent. It is better to have the right people as entrepreneurs instead of the wrong people. Though my only negative experience with the course was the timing, as last year we were all going through some tough times. So then time management was just a major problem when it came to participating. All things considered, I would like to say again that entrepreneurship is very much needed in South Africa and Africa. And I would like to say to all youths that are thinking about entrepreneurship should attempt it, because you will never know unless you try. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mpumelelo. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about what motivated you to start your business?
It was, at first, it was mostly for selfish reasons. I wanted to make money of my own, but then I started to see that I should try and make a business that promotes employment. So then I've been thinking about that lately, and I would like to someday make an app that helps people find jobs.
Thank you, Mpumelelo. That's a very, very interesting answer. Can we maybe hear from Maimuna? Just if you could introduce yourself and let us know what are the challenges you face as a young entrepreneur and what are your experience?
Hello.
If we can hear you.
Hi everyone, I'm Maimuna. I'm an education student at the University of Pretoria. Firstly, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity. I was part of the startup management skills. The workshop was very informative, educational. We learned many aspects about business. To name a few, we learned how to build a business plan and a business model, and also ways to get funded. Challenges. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, and then advice to the youth. When it comes to entrepreneurship, everything that was presented in the workshop can be summed up as follows. That success is a journey of countless baby steps. It is a constant process of growth. If you want to be be successful, you must continue to hold yourself to a higher standard. You're the only person responsible for your success. There is no progress without action. Persistence always wins. Focus is everything. Failure is necessary. And positivity fuels productivity. And most importantly, you must believe in yourself. So I think the most important thing for entrepreneurship, or whatever it may be, is that a person needs to believe in themselves. The moment you start believing in yourself, then you'll be able to strive. Yes.
Thank you so much, Maimuna. You spoke about success. Can you tell us what you think success is, or how would you define success in your own activity?
I think that the best part is that in life you will have to start on the day you decide your life is your own. No one to lean on, rely on, or blame on. So you are in full control of yourself. That's success for me. And also, what is not started today is never finished tomorrow. So you need no action always results into 100% failure rate. So you need to get into action now and begin to move on into the right direction. So I think you need to just start at success.
Thank you so much, Maimuna. Umpile, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Umpile Sheila Sekwele, and I was also part of the UNICEF UP Youth Entrepreneurship course. My journey was both interesting and challenging. On our first workshop, I learned about the background and origin of entrepreneurship. I also learned and I had a chance to evaluate if I am in entrepreneurship, which was the most part that I liked about the course because I learned new interests about myself. I had to use my problem-solving skill to spot a problem in the community or in the society and come up with a business idea to solve or alleviate the problem. I planned and brainstormed my idea using planning skill, and I made a business plan and a business model. I had to use my financial management skill to decide on which source of finance I would use, either the equity financing or the debt financing to start my business. The most important skill I learned in the course is networking. Knowing the right people and building good relationships with them will not only give me the support I will need to start my business, but it will also help my business grow. So the most challenging part of the course was balancing the work of the course and my degree. To make it worse, it was during COVID-19. It was just starting around that time, and we were all getting used to it. And I was also just getting the hang of online learning, and it was new to me and stressful to me. But despite that, I was able to successfully complete the course and pass my second semester by the help of Dr. Bonman and Ms. Sefontaine. I was also able to enjoy the course overall because I was able to do the work on my own time and pace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Many of our viewers might be thinking about trying to open a startup. How would you start, or what advice can you give to aspiring young entrepreneurs when it comes to finances and finding the funds to start a new endeavor?
As I mentioned that there are like two financial sources you can use. It's either the equity, you can go by the equity financing or the debt financing. So I would advise them to look up to those, search and find what they would like. If they would like to like the debt financing, it's up to them, then they'll pay back the money, or they could go to investors or get partners to join the business. Yes.
That's very, very interesting. Thank you so much. Can we please have Teboro to introduce what they do? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Teboro Stibesho. I'm the co-founder of Leadco Clothing Wear. So for me, the reason why I started clothing wear, it's because I wanted to rewrite the township stories. I'm from the township stories. So for me, creating this clothing wear was to narrate township stories to the world, because our township stories are the driving force of our communities, a force that pushes us to defy the odds and build a new reality for ourselves around us. So for instance, in the township, we don't have role models. Our only role models are people who are into crime. So I wanted to rewrite the narrative of a township to create inspirations amongst the young people, and to also create job opportunities for young people, because of unemployment rate is very high. So me being an entrepreneur, it will also create job opportunity. And also I would love to be a social entrepreneur, because of I've also noticed most of the women are single parent, and it's not easy to raise children if you're not employed. So me being a social entrepreneur, it will also help young women with providing them with with entrepreneurship skills and also job opportunities. So that's the reason why I started this business, to also bring change in the community and to also bring inspiration and being a role model to young children, because of most of the time, we are the one who must build a new reality for them. So it's not easy running a business, because I fund my business on my own, and I sacrifice a lot, such as taking my NEFSA's money to fund my business so that it can also grow. So those are the challenges I faced. And also entrepreneurship course, it really helped me in terms of understanding the business, being able to understand the market, being able to run the business. And also it provided me with skills of how to understand the market as a whole, and how to look for funding, and also writing business models, understanding how the business function, who are the most important key players in the business, and so forth. So it was really interesting, and for me, it really helped me, because it bring positive impacts. Now I'm able to understand more more of my business, and also the markets, on how to be able to reach out to the market and be able to provide services.
Thank you. That was such an inspiring answer. You mentioned being both an entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur. Do you think that entrepreneurship changed your vision and your experience of life?
Yes, it did a lot, because of I've learned so many things about being an entrepreneur. And I've also noticed that it's not easy. That's why it's not for everyone. So being an entrepreneur takes a lot from you, and you also have to sacrifice a lot for the benefits of the community, because of I'm studying social work. So as a social work, I need to understand that anything I do, I'm doing it for the community, because of me as an entrepreneur, I must bring a social change in a community. So it really helped me, and it also made me realize how I will be able to be a social entrepreneur to the community. So it was really helpful.
Thank you so much. So let me just ask you, if your business could change the world and improve the life of people, what would that change be?
For me, I would say it will bring a new perspective of or let me just simply say, for me, it can bring opportunities such as job creation, such as but simple, I would say it can change the world in terms of bringing job opportunities, decreasing the unemployment rate, and also providing inspiration to young people who are not inspired to achieve their goals. And it could also motivate young people to keep on moving on and push and also to achieve their goals. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Debo. That was a very inspiring answer. Thank you so much for your intervention. I will now ask to Sikulile to take part in the discussion.
Good day, all. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Hello. Good day, all. My name is Sikulile Nguse. I am a student at the University of Pretoria. I'm currently studying my second year, studying a bachelor's in IT informatics. So firstly, I'd just like to say thank you to the University of Pretoria for the opportunity, as the course is something that I think I can now add to my CV. I think it will look quite good on the CV. I'm quite passionate about the youth, being really that I am a part of the youth. So it pains me to hear statistics such as the South African youth unemployment being 63.3%, because this isn't reflective of the statement that we are the youth that we're told every year as we prepare for our final exams. We're told we are the future of the country. And so I'm particularly passionate about the opportunity and the necessity for entrepreneurship in our country. In my belief, entrepreneurship in whatever form it is, whether it's the young girl from Mamelodi selling wigs and weaves, or it's the IT whiz kid creating his own software or her own software and selling it. I think that's what we need more of in this country, to become a direct role player in the future of the country's economic trajectory. To be able to make important decisions. This is what I believe the goal, or I'd like to say at least my goal in partaking in the course was to learn what it would take for me to become an entrepreneur. So the course provided a good overview, I'd say, of the fundamentals of becoming an entrepreneur. I was already quite interested in the business and all the aspects of business. A particular case study in the course about a couple that gave up everything. They had good paying jobs and they gave up everything to follow their dreams of becoming entrepreneurs. It gave me a bit of a reality check. We also were introduced to some introspective questions, such as the challenges we might face as entrepreneurs and how we think we might solve them, and what problems within the community we'd like to solve. These are the kind of challenging questions that I really enjoyed throughout the course. I'd say particularly the final project was my favorite part, because we were tasked with conducting a business plan. And so I saw this as an opportunity to have a feel of what the business is really about, or what the business environment would really be. And so I'd just like to say thank you again for the course coordinators doing that, because it allowed us to become quite creative in analyzing our businesses and thinking hard about what we would do given the opportunity. I must say what I found difficult was really navigating around the online aspect, because I believe certain things would have been nice to do in person, you know, such as like the discussions we had where we could interact, learn from each other. From the speeches of the previous panelists, I can see that we share similar views. And so it would have been nice to talk to them, gain their perspective. Nonetheless, I would say Dr. Bornman and Mrs. Sefontaine Jordan worked really hard to make it a quite fun and interactive experience for us all. And I believe I'd be speaking on behalf of the group in saying that that goal was achieved. Overall, I can say that I'm very grateful for the experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ukilile. I have a question from the chat, or rather a comment, and I'd like all of you to let us know your thought on that. This is the comment. I think that entrepreneurship education must start at a young age, not only when students arrive at higher education. Therefore, this must form part of the life skills for learners from even grade 7 to 12. What do you guys think of that, starting with Mpumelelo? Mpumelelo, are you still with us? Okay, Umpile, I see you. So if you can answer that question, what is the role of education in entrepreneurship? And do you think that entrepreneurship skills should be part of life skills that learners are learning from grade 7 to 12?
So I totally agree that entrepreneurship should be one of the fundamentals we are taught in from school, from like, as the question is saying, grade 7, because it'll in a way instill those business skills or entrepreneurship skills that we will be able to aspire to own businesses, aspire to create more job opportunities for us, instead of looking forward to working for a company, looking forward to working for someone. So if from a very young age, children are taught that you can actually own your own business, you can actually create jobs for other people, then I feel like we wouldn't have high percentages of the unemployment of the youth and stuff. So I totally agree that entrepreneurship should be one of the courses that are taught at a young age.
Thank you so much. Can you maybe tell us which skills precisely do you think that should be taught to young students?
Skills like planning, being able to like financial management skills, time management, in a way that they will be able to handle like both the work, the schoolwork, and be like at the same time have time to think of businesses, to be interested in starting their endeavors and stuff. So yes, skills like that, I think they can be instilled in young people so that we can really take on and start businesses.
Thank you so much. Deborah, do you want to share with us your view on education and entrepreneurship?
Okay, so on my side, I strongly believe entrepreneurship skills will really help, because it will also help students to create job opportunities. And also, if a student is not employed, he or she can also create an opportunity for himself or herself, such as creating jobs and also financial literacy. It's very important at an early age. Students need to be taught on how to manage money, on how to reinvest, because of most of the time at school, we are not taught about financial literacy. So that's why even if you are employed, you don't know how to manage your money, you are always broke. So these are the things that needs to be addressed. And also entrepreneurship, it's a very key skill, because of most of young people have graduated, but then they are not employed because of the way we were taught on after completing your degree, you have to go and look for a job. So it will also break those boundaries and also create creativity, because of we need people who are going to be creative. So entrepreneurship also comes up with creativity to solve social problems, economical problems, environmental problems. So it will really help.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Tsukilile, you also mentioned education a few times. Can you maybe share with us your view on education, and especially when it comes to financial management? I think it's a very important issue that most of us completely lack skills on. So if you can share at least your opinion on that, that would be great.
Yes, I agree with you completely in that aspect. I believe in the schools, and this isn't a swing at the education system, but we aren't really taught financial management skills. I think from a young age, like you said, from perhaps even grade 7, children should be taught, or young kids should be taught what it means to save, exactly, what it means to delay gratification, to think, okay, at the end of the month, or not even at the end of the month, but what is it that I really want in life? And to think, okay, how do I get there? So financial management skills, definitely, I believe the younger generation needs to be taught about, as well as creativity. I think currently we're just taught how to retain knowledge, how to retain knowledge, and then one day hope to apply it in the workplace. But I think if we're taught creativity from a young age, and have small programs such as cake sale days, things like that, will help to spark entrepreneurship within the youth.
Thank you, Sikulile. It's a very, very interesting answer as well. We don't have much time left, so Maimouna, would you like to share your view on education?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I think, yes, it's very important for it to be part of the education. It can help students after, like say, for instance, when they finish varsity and they don't get jobs, then it will be, then they can have like a plan B that they can fall on. And also it's important that schools need to teach students about time management, financial management, teamwork, communication, leadership skills, and problem solving, so that they can use it in their life in general. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. I think it was a very interesting session. It's also very interesting to see what you guys see as challenges, and the fact that most of you said that we are not well equipped to start our own businesses when we get out of high school. And I think this is a key point of this discussion. I will now hand over to my colleague, Tetson Koana, who is going to moderate the panel on One Health and young academics on One Health practices. Thank you everyone for your participation, and I wish you all a wonderful day.
Thank you, Francois. That was a very interesting talk there. My name is Tetson Nkwana, and I will be taking you through the One Health for Change cluster panel discussion today, which will be led by the young scientists that were involved in the various projects that have taken place during the One Health cluster. Now, just a brief background about myself is that I am the Education and Marketing Officer at the Center for Viral Zoonosis, and that is in the Faculty of Health Sciences. And what I do is to coordinate and develop education and marketing content for dissemination into the public space. And besides that, I also have more than 5 years experience in bat research and have an MSc in a project that focused on bat food ecology. And at the moment, I am doing my PhD part-time in an interdisciplinary project that is focusing on different aging techniques for a specific bat species. Now, before we proceed into the actual panel discussion, I would just like us to lend an ear to Professor Vanda Markota, who is the Future Africa Research Chair in People, Health and Places. And she will just be giving us a brief background into the One Health for Change cluster. Professor, over to you.
Thank you, Tetslin. I'm just going to share my screen. Let's hope everything works. There we go. Okay, so welcome to this panel discussion that's going to be led by young academics that were part of the One Health for Change initiative in this wonderful UNICEF project. And you will talk to some of these, or you will hear these great minds talk soon and share their views. But I just wanted to give some background on the transdisciplinary work that the youth has been involved with as part of this cluster. So it represented already 16 disciplines across the animal, human, and environment spaces to really focus on One Health approaches. And it included capacity building in vector-borne diseases like malaria, innovative approaches to improve food nutrition in neglected communities, analyzing spillover factors for disease emergence, disease surveillance in high-risk interfaces like abattoirs and food chains in communities where we look at both humans and animals, analyzing the effectiveness of hand sanitizers and developing very informative plays that you will see at the end of this day on Covidia to really inform the communities. We also try and understand human behavior by looking at human behavior practices and how people react on the information given to them. We explored alternative ways to really sample COVID in communities by looking at river water and sewage, and also looking at how light influenced the emergence of vector-borne disease. Then this project, we're also focused on primary healthcare, really on women and children, breastfeeding, but also using storytelling methods to understand challenges and interventions in communities. So the young people that will share their views today have been involved in several community outreach programs to schools, but also to communities, to talk about COVID, but also much broader, talk about diseases in general and the One Health approach. They've developed stories to do this in communities and get children also involved in this education. They've developed fantastic educational material and even translated these into local languages so that we can use it in all spaces and be inclusive in South Africa. So today you will hear the reflections of these young academics and their view of the future. So over to you, Tetson.
Thank you so much, Prof. Now I'll just like to introduce our panelists for the day and just give you a brief background about each of the panelists that we will be having for today. So we have two panelists from the medical virology background in the Faculty of Health Sciences, and that is Marke Geldenhuys, who is a postdoctoral researcher in the Health Sciences faculty and is part of the South African Research Chair program of Professor Vanda Markota, focusing on interdisciplinary research on the disease ecology of bats and other small mammals. And she's also interested in pathogen discovery from bats, but specialized in bat coronaviruses, and is strongly involved in the very important student supervision and mentoring activities at her department. And next, from the same group, we have Marinda Matlock, who is a postdoctoral researcher in the same research group and studying various aspects of zoonotic disease and bats for the last 10 years. She has an interest in virology and enjoys the aspect of fieldwork as a welcome break from the mundane laboratory work. She specifically focuses on zoonotic paramyxoviruses and also does the very important job of mentoring young students through formal and informal activities. And crossing into other departments or faculty, from the Faculty of Veterinary Sciences, we have Francis Kolo, who is experienced in diagnosis and treatment of common and atypical animal diseases and has a passion about the surveillance of disease of animal and human significance, and is committed to educating and promoting public awareness of emerging issues and disease. And his colleague there from the same faculty is Aisha Hassim, who's a postdoctoral researcher in her department of veterinary tropical diseases. And she's currently part of the disease ecology research team focused on zoonotic bacterial diseases endemic in the Kruger National Park at the livestock-human wildlife interface. And she's also been involved in laboratory capacity development, as well as the creation of teaching material and operational protocols for labs that they use to establish disease surveillance system in resource-challenged areas. And from the food security discipline, we have Carmen Muller, who is a postdoctoral fellow in the Faculty of Natural and Agricultural Sciences and holds an MSc and PhD in nutrition. She's passionate about nutrition research and promoting excellence in the field through science-based information. And she has a special interest in linking nutrient quantity and quality of foods to sustainable food systems for attaining nutrition and food security for all. And from the same food security background, we have Velike de Bruin, who has a PhD in plant pathology and has worked on plant health for many years in both academia and industry before expanding her work to cover food system transformation. And also has a background in as a consultant researcher on a number of policy briefs and policy-related documents. And lastly, we have Megan Reading, who comes from the health sciences, the public health sciences background, and has is a medical entomologist and senior researcher in the vector cluster of the Institute for Sustainable Malaria Control. And she comes from a very transdisciplinary environment that has ecology, entomology, climatology, public health, parasitology, and virology. And I'd just like to, you'll see them as I speak to them during the, throughout the course of our discussion. So going into the discussion itself, now COVID-19 has affected all of us in a number of ways. And this has been also true for young academics in that they had to adjust or to find new ways of interacting not only with their colleagues, but also with their research, be it in the field or in the lab. So this just leads me to my first question of the day, which is really, what are those specific challenges did you as an young academic experience due to the effects of COVID-19? Francis, can you share your views on this?
Thank you very much. Of the challenges I faced during this COVID pandemic, two of them were very paramount. One of the prevailing challenges I faced as a young academic during this pandemic was my inability to continue with my research work, coupled with the mental fatigue of adjusting to working at home. You have kids working at home, you are writing manuscript, you are trying to adjust the noise of the kids, and also trying to teach the kids their online modules. So these two challenges were very, very paramount during this pandemic scourge in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. And Marike, can you share your views as well on this point?
Yes, of course. So as you can imagine, anything you need to do in the lab, if you have to work from home, it's not possible to do. So like Francis said, there's a delay in the lab work we could do. All field work we had to do had to be stopped. So when we do long-term surveillance at a specific site, it means that we've got massive gaps in the research data that we could have collected. Another important thing that people don't always think about, you have a research project and you have a budget. And suddenly everything is expensive or not even accessible. A lot of the stuff we needed to order for the lab is just not available, or suddenly is very expensive. For example, gloves. You need gloves to work in a lab, and gloves is almost nowhere to be found, or it's very, very expensive. Another thing that I think a few people may have experienced as well are missed opportunities. Conferences that were maybe paid that we could have gone to last year, for example, but they were cancelled because of global lockdowns. So yeah, from the smallest thing of being able to concentrate at home to not being able to do the work you are paid to do, I mean, there have been quite a few challenges, and just overcoming those challenges has been a steep learning curve.
Thank you there, Marike. And Carmen, also share your views on this one as well.
I think all of the research that came to an absolute standstill was one of the biggest challenges, but then also some of the emotional challenges that came along with it, especially considering some of my younger students that started with a master's degree during this time. I haven't even met them face to face, and they're scared and they need assistance and they don't know what they're doing. And I think a lot of the times online communication can be a little bit buried and misstrued. So they might be a lot more sensitive to emails and miscommunication. And there was a lot of times when the students thought they were absolutely terrible and they don't understand what they're doing and their supervisors are not impressed with them, where it was the students felt isolated and alone, and we couldn't talk face to face with them and assist them through their projects and their proposals and give them the best guidance possible, because a lot of the emotions are lost and wrongfully interpreted when we do things over an online platform.
Thank you for that, Carmen. And I'll just cross over to Megan to also share your thoughts here on your challenges that you experienced.
Thanks, Tetson. I think a lot of the challenges that we have experienced were connected. Our challenges were also linked to field and facility access. So much like Marika said, our biggest challenge was our inability to be able to travel and to continue with our field work, particularly during our high mosquito-borne disease season, which is when most of our surveillance would occur. So a lot of our projects came to a complete halt for a few months. We also dealt with issues with delay or lack of access to laboratories. And we had to continually ensure that we had schedules in place and permits to be able to maintain our insectaries and our very important colonies, because it takes a lot of time and effort and manpower to build these colonies back up again. So we had to just constantly try and keep these maintained through even the most strictest of lockdown periods. I think this has also been said, but the initial hurdles with virtual communication was a challenge to many people, while everybody found their feet working from home. And while we got used to this idea of a new normal, it was frustrating. And sometimes you felt like you had to be available at all times of the day or night. I think this, coupled with the isolation and young academics having to really rethink and redesign your students as well as your own approach to research, was quite difficult during this period. Thanks.
Thanks so much there, Megan. Now, because all of us have been involved in One Health, I'm sure we now have a deeper appreciation of the One Health concept. So with that in mind, I pose the question, what does this concept mean for you now as a young academic? And how did the project that you were involved in, the UNICEF project that you were involved in, change your thinking around the future of education? And I'll just start off with Willeke there to share your views on this point. Willeke?
Yes, Tetson. I think when I think of One Health, I compare this to the image of a communal garden. A communal garden has many benefits to a variety of people in a society. It's a place where we get together, where we work together. It serves as a platform for a place where we socially interact, whether it's different generations, different cultures. And I think, yeah, as a team together, we have a greater impact. And in our project, our community consisted of law, students in law, health and agricultural scientists, and a very lively drama department. And yeah, I think we all came with our own personalities and our own passion and energy. But I think we were able to leverage on each other's strengths and our expertise as our community. And I think this made for a very very impactful mix. I think we were able to be more effective at what we do.
Thank you, Willeke. Aisha, what are your views here on this point?
Thank you, Tetson. From my perspective, it's like One Health just highlights the interconnectedness of all aspects of life and our role in it. And we tend to work as scientists in silos, and we're not always cognizant of the kind of impact or the worth of our work in society and groups. And when we were doing this interactive, interdisciplinary kind of chatting and exposure to each other's work, it gives you this other idea of how to improve on and better apply the knowledge that we have. And yeah, it just gives us a better idea when other disciplines and stakeholders are involved of how the system looks as a whole. You know, it completes the puzzle. And I think in sciences, we tend to just be isolated and not see the whole picture. And I just think as One Health, the interdisciplinary work really gives us a real idea of our impact and the knock-on effect in the other disciplines and how we can just better solve a problem together. Yeah, and I think that helps us also plan for the future better.
Okay, thank you, Aisha. Marinda, can you share your views as well, please?
Thank you, Tetson. So to follow on what the other speakers said, I would say we tend to focus more on things like my science, if I can call it that. And I don't think we realize that being individually driven actually limits our scope of what we can achieve. So science is not only about self-improvement, but I think making a difference at a larger scale. And I think this is achievable if we look at this through concepts of One Health and transdisciplinarity. And I mean, my involvement with the UNICEF project that we have actually directed my mindset towards thinking a bit more broadly, because I was rather focused on my science. But now it brings together a lot of various perspectives, and it helps us to think of things in a different way.
Thank you, Marinda. And Megan, can you share your views as well on this point?
Thanks, Tetson. So I think it has a lot of has already been said again, but I do think that I can just mimic again that the fact that the coming together of established and young academics, but also we had the ability to work together, but also across multi-sectorial groups to be able to achieve a common goal of optimal health and quality of life is so extremely important to One Health, and it's something that we've seen in this project. But something else that I think I learned from the UNICEF project is that it really emphasized the importance of education and achieving One Health. So not only at a societal level, which is something I think we always focus on, but very much at a young emerging academic level, to ensure that there is vital knowledge and skills imparted from established and experienced researchers, which is so important. And to be able to do this across disciplines has been such a great advantage during this project.
Thank you there. On the topic of the future, because we now have to think a lot about the future, given the current circumstances that we've been faced with the pandemic, and how we had to adjust to the so-called new normal. So now, as a young academic, what do you think, or what do you think the future holds for you in the field that you're in, and now in the transdisciplinary way of thinking that you've been introduced to? Francis, can you share your views on this one?
Thank you very much. For me, as a young academic, the future indeed is bright. And for me to bask and enjoy that bright future, there's a need for me to change my perception of higher education. With the advent of the pandemic, one has realized that there needs to be an adaptation to the new normal to reach the youths as the education systems have changed. You know, for example, the changes that one needs to appreciate is normalization of homeschooling, personalized self-paced learning, and importantly, critical thinking and leadership skills is the key to this bright future. So the future is indeed bright, and one has realized that such changes has to be acknowledged going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francis. Marike, share your views, please, as well.
So I would say the future is kind of uncertain, right? So I almost want to say we're on a fence. So we can either go one way or the other way. And the first way we can go is people can realize with this pandemic that there's an urgency for disease surveillance, which should be very evident with the pandemic right now. So people can, the funding for this kind of research will continue. And if it does, we have jobs, basically. But if people are going to continue as they were in the past, and they're going to ignore the fact that wildlife have viruses and diseases that can cause large pandemics, like the one we are seeing, if people are going to continue to ignore that, then, you know, we're just going to keep experiencing new pandemics with different viruses, because the things are out there. But if people realize that there is a problem and they want to fix the problem, then there will be research to do. I am really passionate about research. I want to know why things are the way they are. And there are so many research questions in our field that I want to help tackle. But I also saw with the UNICEF project that there are other people that are maybe not in the same field, but they want to tackle the same problems, and they approach it from a different angle. So some things that I never would have thought of, somebody automatically thinks of. So, you know, that is a great way to collaborate together. So I really feel like the future will be stronger collaborations with people that think differently to your research field, so that overall everything will be strengthened as a result of that. And we will do away with, like everybody has been talking about, our little research silos. And I really think that that is the way the future will go.
Thank you there, Marike. Carmen, would you like to also share your views here on about the future?
Yes, I like what Marika said, and it's a case where it's adapt or die. And if you're at this point not able to adapt to the changing circumstances, then you're not going to make it in the research field. And I think a very important thing, we are fortunate enough that I think we're in an era where there's a lot of focus on young researchers and the importance of young researchers. And with what we are busy with today, we are in a very caring environment where we are being supported as young researchers. And also there are funds becoming available for young researchers to improve themselves, and we're getting more and more support. but it is that thing you need to be able to adapt yourself to the changing environment and be able to apply your specific set of skills that you have learned to these changing environments. Because if we're going to get stuck in one way of thinking, we're not going to be able to progress and to improve our methods of research and get better results and adapt to the changing environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Now, all of the One Health for Change project have been centered around the youth. There was a very strong focus on youth development, and each one of us had the opportunity to work very closely with the youth and in doing capacity building and mentoring. So in that breath, I would like just to pose the question of how does each of you as young academics see the role that young academics would play in the education of the youth in future? And I will start off with Aisha here on this point.
Yeah, I think just by being young academics, we can influence the youth because we serve as a sort of identifiable example to them. And I think by just interacting with the youth, they can be influenced to see broader horizons, because, you know, it's not just the stale old, you can be this in life or that, or follow this career path. There's so many opportunities opening up, and there's so many ways that young people can go. And just by interacting with them, we can teach them these kind of other avenues. And I think the other problem we have as scientists is we often speak in scientific terms that laymen don't necessarily understand. And just by engaging with the youth in language that they understand, that is accessible to them, we can really broaden their horizons and make a better future and more opportunities for them. Also, I think going forward, as we grow older as scientists, we need to influence policy to pave the way for the youth, because that's the only way they're going to have any opportunities for their future.
Thank you there, Aisha. Marinda, would you like to also share your views here on this point?
Yes, I think I would say we can reach them through accessibility and exposure. I mean, knowledge sharing is by far the best way to further the education of the youth. So as a young scientist, I feel like we should get more involved with volunteering initiatives and workshops, and that would provide a great opportunity for us to be able to interact with the youth and provide them exposure, especially to what tertiary education has to offer. I mean, when I was still considered useful back in the day, I don't really recall having that exposure to what it has to offer. And I think that actually will help to shape the future path of the youth and help them to reach their goals. So I think things like that, like volunteering and workshop, should be prioritized and driven by us as young academics. I mean, we have the insights on how we can actually improve and shape the education of future leaders. And with the resources that we actually currently have available, which wasn't available back in the day. Thanks.
Oh, thank you there, Marinda. And Willeke, your thoughts, please.
Tietzen, I think we need to change our teaching and learning experience. And this would entail a curriculum transformation in the way we teach and our mode of delivery. And we need to encourage transdisciplinary thinking. We need to give them opportunity to see this in action to get the practical experience.
Thank you there, Willeke. We are a bit pressed for time, so I'd just like to conclude or summarize really some of the highlights of that people raised throughout the discussion. And one of the highlights was that we need to start implementing the use of technology to bridge the gap between the existing silos in academia. And collaboration is really the way. to do trans and interdisciplinary research in this aspect. And of course, someone also raised the point of, I think it was Merkel raised the point of funding, the importance of funding that is directed towards this type of transdisciplinary research. And also the inclusion of mentorship and capacity building as an objective in research projects. And the very important thing of making projects that are relevant to societal issues, projects that actually answer issues that are there in society. And I was very happy that the points raised today all allude to the slogan of the University of Pretoria One Health for Change network, which is breaking barriers and forging knowledge. And I think each of the projects really did that exactly. So in closing, I don't know, I have not seen any questions so far directed at any of our panelists. So I'd just like to say in closing that the interconnectedness of the challenges we face today, be it in health, economy, and the environment, all call for a transdisciplinary way of conducting research, which needs to be taken as a norm going forward. The responsibility of the young academic of today is to therefore learn, innovate, and master this way of doing things and pass this knowledge down to future academics through mentorship. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening in on our panel discussion. And I'll cross over back to Rachel if there are no questions for our panelists.
Thank you so much for that, Tetson. I think it was a brilliant culmination of all the discussion points. Thank you for the panel. I know you all have been engaging in so many deliberations on this, and it was really useful. Please, if you have some time, share some comments in the chat box. I would definitely like to use your input, which we could share with the network. So in consideration of everybody's schedules and timetables, we are going to go on to a short break of 15 minutes, 1-5. So please don't go and run away and not come back. We have 2 very interesting sessions following the break. You will see as we go into the next 15-minute break until 11:45 that a short video will be played. So this is a recorded narration based on students' experiences on all-inclusive One Health risk analysis for community health. So that is about a 3-minute video. You could watch it while you are making a cup of coffee and refreshing yourself. And then we are very much excited to welcome you back at 11:45. Thank you.
The University of Pretoria's UNICEF One Health for Change has funded a short-term project entitled All-Inclusive One Health Risk Analysis for Community Health to be conducted under Professor Lise Kosten and Dr. Stacy Divenacher and Erica Duplessis at the Department of Plant and Soil Sciences within the Fresh Produce Safety Group. The World Health Organization defines One Health as an approach to designing and implementing programs, policies, legislation, and research in which multiple sectors communicate and work together to achieve better public health outcomes. One Health is defined by the CDC as the idea that the health of people is connected to the health of animals and our shared environments. Therefore, when we protect one, we help to protect all. The Food Safety One Health approach incorporates the 3 main interlinking facets of animal, plant, and human health with a cross-cutting facets of water and environment. This approach is critical to address the control of zoonosis as well as antibiotic resistance. Zoonosis is defined as diseases that can spread between animals and humans. Antibiotic resistance happens when bacteria develop the ability to defeat the drugs designed to kill them. That means bacteria are not killed and continue to grow. Infections caused by antibiotic-resistant germs are difficult and sometimes impossible to treat. A One Health transdisciplinary approach is critical due to the fact that the same microorganisms that infect animals and humans are often disseminated on plants and through water as vectors. Through research under the DSI NRF Center of Excellence in Food Security, we have been able to isolate various Klebsiella pneumonia and E. coli isolates that exhibit multi-drug resistance and the production of extended spectrum beta-lactamase and MC beta-lactamase. These organisms were prevalent in the environment and food systems. Environmental sources include irrigation, river and reservoir water, and food system sources include various fresh products from street vendors, retailers, mobile trolley vendors, commercial and informal farming supply chains. In order to further the risk assessment process, we need to determine the virulence and antibiotic resistance characteristics of these organisms. In collaboration with the National Institute of Communicable Diseases, next generation tools will allow a deeper understanding of these characteristics. We therefore aim to sequence 110 isolates in order to elucidate these characteristics.
everybody. Welcome back to this session, the Youth Forum, as hosted and supported by UNICEF South Africa, as well as Future Africa at the University of Pretoria. As I'm sure you could have seen and heard in this morning's session, we went all the way from entrepreneurship and management skills to One Health for Change. The next two sessions will just be as interesting, but this is not my opportunity to talk. I would like to introduce you to Taisha Pillay. Now, Taisha is also currently completing her master's in political science. She is particularly interested in transforming our education curriculum away from outdated content and being more relevant to today's society. She feels that education must take into consideration talent and passion rather than only grades. She feels that education needs to be more inclusive to children with learning disabilities. And that is why Taisha is perfectly placed to be our facilitator for the next session. Taisha, you are welcome.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you. Good morning, all. Firstly, it is an honor to be here today and to have worked with this wonderful cluster. My name is... can you guys hear me? Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, all. Firstly, it's an honor to be here today and to have worked with this wonderful cluster. My name is Taisha, and I am the facilitator for 5.1. According to the South African Constitution, health is a fundamental right that extends beyond one's right to basic healthcare and includes the right to the equality of opportunity to healthcare and healthcare which is acceptable and of good quality. Despite this, not all South Africans are able to receive equality in healthcare, as persons with disabilities, specifically communication vulnerabilities, are reported to have increased barriers to access. Cluster 5.1 addresses this barrier by focusing on the production of healthcare materials for youth with disabilities and complex communication needs. In doing so, the cluster worked with youth who have disabilities in order to identify the communication and health education needs, as well as to produce these materials. This was a great cluster as we were able to directly impact a number of individuals who have disabilities, but more than that, we were able to have them as critical members within the project. Therefore, without further ado, please allow me to introduce the members of this panel. Constance Ntuli, a young woman with a disability who works at the Center for AAC at the University of Pretoria and who was involved in our training of professionals and students on the materials produced. Sababule Mokango, a young woman with a disability who was part of our youth panel. She's an amazing poet and wrote a poem on living in COVID times as a person with a disability, which will be presented. Carla van Nieuwhuizen, a young woman with a disability who was part of our youth panel. Carla is presenting on her experience on going to hospital during COVID times as someone with complex communication needs. Kirsty Bastable, a postdoctorate fellow and speech therapist who worked with youth with disabilities to produce the material, who I now hand over to you for a brief presentation.
Thank you very much, Taisha. I'm very, very excited to be here and very honored to be here and sharing this with all of you. I'm going to share my screen. Just a note as I go in, because our youth who are part of our cluster have complex communication needs, when it comes to their presentations, I will share them. They have pre-prepared the voice output on them because this is something that takes quite a long time. But you'll see, there's no issue with it. You'll see when we get there. So our cluster really looked at participation in healthcare for youth with complex communication needs. And we really looked to see what could we do to increase youth's participation in healthcare. As Taisha mentioned earlier, you know, our people with disabilities have the right to the same healthcare that we have. And to take it one step further, that includes respect for dignity, autonomy, being able to make one's own choices, having independence, not being discriminated against, having full and effective participation and inclusion in society and in your healthcare, having equality of opportunity, which is often more than just a wheelchair ramp to get you in the door, and accessibility. And as we'll speak a little bit further, accessibility isn't only about can I get in, can I access something physically, but there's a lot to do with communication. And then really looking as well at respecting and the capacity of people with disabilities. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you should be excluded. It just means that we should make sure that you are able to be included at a level that is suitable for you. So just in terms of that, and in terms of participation, a person with a complex communication needs is someone who doesn't communicate the way you and I communicate. Generally, they have a disability. Communication may be hard. They may use different tools. We'll talk a little bit about those tools. But most importantly, people with complex communication needs need to be heard. Not only be told, they actually need to be heard and to be listened to. And that often means a communication system, but it's not just one board with 6 words on it. Yes, no, I like it, I don't like it. As many of you who've been to a doctor will know, there is so much more we need to express. And time. Time often comes into this. Communication, when you have complex communication needs, takes more time, before, during, and after. People with complex communication needs have a right to be informed, not only about the actual information about a condition that they're having, but that they have a right to participate, that they have a right to insist that their communication tools are used, that they are informed about their condition in a manner in which they are able to understand, and that they have a right to ask questions and to take the time to repeat or have information repeated until they understand it, and to be involved. People with complex communication needs should be involved. They should be asking questions. They should be asking for other options. They should be able to write down what they want or express what they want. And when they do so, we really need to be honoring those requests, not just, oh, thank you very much, that's a lovely request. Let's continue and do it our own way. So one of the things in particular, and one of the reasons we need to advocate for people with complex communication needs to be more involved, is very simply, when patients are more involved and participate to a greater extent in their care, we see much better results. We see improved medication treatment and adherence. We see decreased needs for sedation and time in ICU. This is something that's particularly come up in COVID times. If someone knows what's going on, if someone has a means to communicate, actually they need less sedation and less time in ICU. It costs less. Let's talk to the economists. It costs less. Patients have less stress and they actually feel more empowered and more satisfied. So how do we get there? How do we help people with complex communication needs? One of the ways we can do that is by using AAC. AAC is augmentative and alternative communication. And it is a system or a field of communication and a field of study, which is able to support either expressive language, which is your ability to speak, or receptive language, which is your ability to understand, or both of those together. It's augmentative. You might have some speech, but use a communication device to help you, then it's augmentative. And it's alternative when you have no speech and where it's your sole source of communication. AAC can be temporary. So I've mentioned COVID. If somebody is ventilated, if they've got a tube down their throat and they're unable to speak, they could do with AAC just until that comes out. But it can also be permanent. And the other speakers who will be presenting today are permanent users of AAC. They use their AAC throughout their lives, and they will need to use it. And there are different types of AAC. There are low-tech devices and low-tech types of AAC, for example, a picture board, which you might point at individual words to share your thoughts, your needs. It might be high-tech, something like an iPad or an iPhone that in many ways, either I can type a message and have it speak it out, or I can, again, choose a picture and have that the word that that picture represents spoken out. It might be as low-tech as what we call tangible objects for someone who maybe has visual impairment and they're unable to see a picture. We might actually use cards with real objects or miniaturized objects on it for them to communicate. Or it can be something like sign language or gestures or manual signs where we use our hands and we make signs and shapes for communication. So that's what AAC is. So in terms of the co-development of health education materials, we wanted to apply the principles of AAC, looking at the process, looking at people who have complex communication needs and say, well, how can we make materials accessible for you? We started off by trying to understand how youth with disabilities in South Africa actually obtain health information, what challenges they experience, and what are their communication needs in terms of healthcare. And then in collaboration with the youth, we developed a whole lot of materials to actually help the youth to participate to a greater extent in their healthcare. One of the things I really wanted to highlight, and for myself as a professional working with youth, this was really important. You know, we'd start off, and for something as simple as a symbol, I might start with a symbol which was fairly basic for me. I didn't want to make it too specific. I didn't want it to be a girl or a boy or a particular race or anything. And I'd say, this is a great symbol. And we got out there with the youth and I said, what do you think of the symbol? And they all looked at me and said, no, which was amazing. It was amazing that we could have that discussion. Too often, youth, people with disabilities are not involved in the production of the materials that they are expected to use. And so in terms of that, the youth gave input until we could get to something that they were happy with. And this one in the green circle was the final decision. We had a similar process with the word dizzy, where what I thought was a great picture for dizzy, and we had a wonderful artist who worked with us, all of our youth felt was confused, and it took some adaptation. With all of this, we managed to produce over 132 materials in 6 South African languages, which ranged from communication boards, picture boards to aid communication, in general healthcare situations, specifically about pain, specifically about COVID, little videos about communication, and some visual schedules, which are basically things that help you process through one step at a time. What's the next step? What's the next step? And so not only did we manage to produce materials with the youth guiding us, we were very much partners, and the youth were guiding us in terms of what was needed. But we were able to do this in 6 South African languages, which anyone in healthcare will tell you is quite an achievement, which we're very excited about. We had an amazing team with amazing consultants. So thank you to all of them. Just a quick note, if anyone is interested in any of the materials and you'd like to have a look, please go to the CAAC website. They're there, they are free to download for anyone. But now I would like to hand over to an amazing woman. She is a poet, Sibabalwe Mkungu, and she has written us a poem on what it's like living with a disability in a world of coronavirus. So here is Sibabalwe and her voice.
living with disability in a world of coronavirus. The world turned black when you arrived with a machete hovering on our heads, ushering the unseen thief to steal unexpected deaths, and we were upside down to your loaded abnormal orders. In all my lifetime as a person who is living with disability, this day and age of coronavirus has abused me to the thinking of being captured by the feeling of superstition connecting the darkest hours of depression. That staying at home is a new normality. Breathing difficulty is a part and parcel of my disability in my goddess days. Suffocating masks during COVID-19 have dehumanized my breathing, in the sense that I'm crying for liberty when I'm wearing a mask in public, and masks are supposed to protect me, not to send me to my earliest death.
I hope you will all agree with me that this is an incredibly powerful representation from Sibabalwa of how she's been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. One of our other youth is Carla van Nieuwenhuizen, and Carla was unfortunate enough to actually need to go to hospital during a COVID times, not COVID related, thank goodness. And she has also prepared for us a little presentation so that we can understand better what it was like for her to have to go to hospital.
My COVID-19 hospital experience. Firstly, I would like to describe my disability. I have got cerebral palsy, and part of my disability is having involuntary movements. I am using my communication board and my device to communicate. My parents found a doctor that specialized in a procedure that would minimize my movements. To see if the procedure would work, I had to go for a test run in the hospital. Because of COVID-19 regulations, my parents were not allowed to go in with me, so I had to rely solely on my little bit of speech. I was very scared. I was not sure that they would understand me. To make things more difficult, I constantly had to wear a mask, which meant they could not see my mouth and hear me at all. Because they did not understand any of my communication ways, it was a complete disaster. My worst fears came true. Eventually, they allowed my mother to come in and explain some of my ways. Luckily, I was not hospitalized for too long. I was happy to go home. Recently, I was part of a development and research group that developed specific communication correctors for doctors, hospital, and explanation of pain. When I go back to hospital for a big operation, I will be armed with my medical communication board to assist me in communicating with the staff and the doctors. I already feel more secure about my next hospital visit.
And finally, we have one of our youth who is also a staffer at University of Pretoria, Constance Ntuli. And Constance is sharing with us a little bit of how she has made her own way in the world and how she's managed healthcare, in particular because she is a mom to two beautiful little girls. And that hasn't always been easy, but she makes it work in an amazing way.
Most important, I am a mother. I am a blessed mommy of two most beautiful girls, whom I adore and love so much they sure brighten up my life. I was born and bred in Mamelodi. I have been working at the Center for Augmentative and Alternative Communications for almost 8 years now. I became a disability advocate for people with little or no functional speech. So let me share my story with you. I was born with a natural voice, but when I was 11 years old, I guess some fairy tale stories do exist, for my life changed overnight. I got ill from an unknown illness. This caused a physical disability affecting my entire left hand side and speech muscles. I came home from school one day with a sore throat. My mom took me to the doctor. He injected me and gave me medicine to take for my sore throat to heal. Nighttime came and my mom did the doctor's instructions. She gave me my medicine. Then I went to bed. The next morning I was lying on bed. I couldn't speak and I was paralyzed. My family took me to different places to find help, so that I can regain my voice back and get well again. But even today it is unknown what happened. Augmentative and Alternative Communication, AAC, is something new of which I was introduced to it in 2009. Here are some of my bullets that I found very interesting. When I visit the hospital and clinic, people have different attitudes towards people with disability. While some are helpful, many don't know how to communicate with a person with a disability. I used to find it very difficult to go to the clinic on my own and always went with someone. Slowly I have got more confident and also learned how to prepare for my visits. I have learned to prepare my questions for the doctors and nurses before I go to the clinic. I have some pre-stored messages explaining how my AAC system works and that I need additional time to respond to their questions, as typing takes some time for me. I also ask them to write down the instructions about my medication or diagnosis so that I can follow up on it later. Gradually I am becoming more independent and the doctors and nurses have better understanding and they focus on importance of me and how I communicate. I feel it is very important that public hospitals and clinics nurses needs to be given lessons or workshop about AAC. There is a need for more training of medical professionals on how to interact with a person that uses AAC. My advice to medical professionals would be to be patient and take the time to wait for the response of the person that uses AAC. Also speak directly to the patient or person that uses AAC and wait whilst they put together their answer. I am now learning to keep all my medical information in one place, so that the doctors can read through it and see what my medical history is, and I also store that in my AAC device so I can respond accurately when need be. Thank you for listening to my personal experiences.
So thank you very much to Constance, to Sibabalwa, to Carla for sharing some of their personal experiences. We are going to end our cluster now, but if you have any questions, we would love to answer your questions as you're learning. Answering questions if you use AAC takes a little bit longer. And so what we're doing is, if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat or on any of the platforms, and we will come back. We will have an opportunity later when we will actually have had some time and we'll be able to answer the questions. Thank you for your time. It's been such an exciting project. I cannot share how rewarding it has been for me as a researcher, working with the youth and doing something which actually hopefully has value. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we are now going to hand over to Francois from Shapeshifters. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisha. My name is Francois Gilles de Pellicci. For those who have missed the first session, I'm an assistant lecturer at the University of Pretoria and also a master's student in political science. So the cluster 5.2 is about Shapeshifter. Shapeshifter is a group of young leaders from the community of Esteros in China who are shaping themselves, shaping their community, and shaping the future. They have established themselves as a permanent group following the UNICEF UP project run in 2020. The group is today represented by Kaylin Rosenberg, Zaidin Boyce, Kaylin Fisher, Monique Prince-Lou, and Maxine Peterson. During this session, the panelists will first play an introductory video to introduce the Shapeshifter project, and they will then share their perspective and their respective experience and engage with the viewers in a Q&A session. I will now ask to LCP to play the video. Thank you.
Creative Industries Incubator has a partnership with the University of Pretoria, and we've been working on various projects over the years. During COVID, while looking at just the impact that it had in the community, we started to wonder what it would be like if we were to create a space for young people, young leaders, to literally have a space to be creative, to think about what they think the challenges are in the community and how they would approach the challenges. So many of the interventions in our communities are prepackaged and brought to communities, and actually the solutions are already there and usually within the youth. And so Shapeshifters, the idea was born. The university then approached us and said they wanted to do a project with UNICEF that was around COVID and some of the challenges, and this idea jumped to the front. And we'd already sort of called it Shapeshifters because we wanted to create a platform where young people could shape themselves, shape their mindset, shape their worldview, shape the community, shape history for that matter. And that's how the project was born.
My name is Kaylin Rosenberg and I am the program coordinator for the Shapeshifters team. I'd like to introduce you guys to my creative team, and on my right we have Kaylin Fisher, on my left we have Zaidine Bays, and in their absence also Monique Prinsloo and Maxine Peterson.
Before joining the Shapeshifter program, I wanted to make a change in this community. I didn't know what change though. After the program, I met a team, and together we're going to make a change in this community, Pretoria, South Africa, and the world.
So we partnered with UP. We work closely with the music therapy department, and myself and Nsamo Munga, one of the music therapists from UP, we just co-facilitated a space using arts-based techniques and methodologies that just created an environment for the youth to have agency. We literally did nothing except hold a space. And so the brilliance that has come out of this is entirely due to the agency and presence and insight of the young people who've been involved.
What I've experienced within 8 months of being with the Shapeshifters is that we need to start with the root of the problem, which is ourselves. And that is exactly what we are going to do moving forward.
Yeah, so that is really how it was conceived, literally as just a space in which these young people could be challenged to be creative, and they rose to that. We then, after the program, they came and said they wanted to take the program forward and not stop. So after our 8-week programmatic intervention that we did, these young leaders, young shapeshifters came and wanted to continue. So we converted the sort of intangible space we'd created during the program into a physical space, and have given them a physical space in the incubator building, which they have decorated and done what they want with, and they're now working out of there and taking the concept further to really design what they would like to see happen in the community going forward. So our role is really just to support, to create the platform, and to provide a brave space, we've been calling it in Shapeshifters, for them to do what they feel needs to be done in the community.
My name is Nsamo Mwonga. I am a music therapist. I'm also a facilitator with the Shapeshifters Project in West. The Shapeshifters Project is a youth-led organization and project that focuses and gathers young people who are together deciding to find solutions to many problems that plague their community.
Thank you so much. This was a wonderful video. I think that the Shapeshifter project is really, really a necessary project and a very interesting one as well. So I'd like to invite two ladies from Shapeshifter to tell us a little bit more about their experience as part of the group, and then we will ask Nsamo to tell us a little bit more as well. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kaylin Fisher.
and I joined the Shapeshifters in the end of October, beginning of November. I was a bit hesitant to come into the first session because I didn't know what to expect, and no one could really tell me what to expect. And I'm so glad that I did attend the session because I gained so much confidence, and I gained a team that had the same goal and mission in our community.
Hi everyone, my name is Zaideen Bais, and I'm also part of the Shapeshifter. It is a privilege and an honor for me to be part of this Zoom meeting and also part of Shapeshifters. It has really impacted my life positively, and it's an honor for me to work with such amazing young people who have the same vision that I have, and together we can make a difference in the future of our young people and also future leaders of South Africa.
Hi everyone, my name is Levine Rosenberg, and I am a member of the Shapeshifters team as well. The Shapeshifters team has meant a lot for me personally and in my education as well. It really brought about a new confidence in my life, a confidence that I never thought I had. And it opened up my mind to so many things, and just to be confident on my ideas and to implement those ideas alongside these young people. And yes.
Thank you so much. Samu, would you like to add something?
Well, I want to say how inspired I am being the facilitator for the Shapeshifters. Right from the very beginning, as Dave mentioned in the video, we're very intentional about the kind of space that we're creating. COVID-19 happened, and for most of us, COVID-19 was something that happened outside of our usual experiences. But we discovered that in working with the young people in Estorax, COVID-19 was only a revelator. It was only revealing some of the issues that were already underlying their experiences. And so it was quite interesting to observe that while we're working at a time when COVID was a reality, the issues that were emerging as we're working together were not related to COVID. COVID somehow was secondary in the community because there were more immediate issues that young people were concerned about, issues to do with safety, physical safety for themselves, for the girls in the community, the violence that is so prevalent in the community. And it was very clear for us to leave the naming of the challenges and the problems to the people of the community, and to even begin to come up with probable solutions to these problems. And because they knew that the resources were within, and in the time that we worked together, they could name them. They could name the obstacles. They could also name what the solutions would be and what it would mean to create a space and a community that young people, particularly with enough imagination and strength, would resource each other to come up with, well, not so much to come up, but to consolidate the solutions that they were already holding in their mind. And some of them, as they said, they had already started to imagine solutions to some of the problems, that they were always disheartened by slowness of response, or maybe the disconnection with the community, or maybe isolation as well. When one young person is thinking about doing something, they find themselves isolated and they have no support. And so Shapeshifters has provided a space for the young people with ideas and with imagination can come together and provide support for each other in working on some of these issues that are prevailing in their community.
Thank you, Nsoma. It seems that the community is really at the center of the Shapeshifter project. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about how the community shaped the Shapeshifter project and how the Shapeshifter project shaped the community?
I think it's actually both ways, right? So the Shapeshifters project itself was shaped by the needs in the community. And these needs are not just tangible events and activities. A lot of Beth mentioned that sometimes solutions in communities like that are pre-packed elsewhere and delivered to the community without the participation of the community. What we were thinking about was something completely different. It was more about community engagement. It was more about participation. And in that sense, the community itself formed the way that we were engaging with the young people, partly because we were aware of some of the deficiencies, and also in advertising, in recruiting, we were quite intentional about who was coming to the project. And these were young people that had already showed some interest in making some responses to the community. So there was already something happening that we were responding to. In the process, as we're reflecting on the experience of the community and the nature of the community, we were able to see that the young people themselves were formed by the community to see the world in a certain way. And if they are, then they know from their own experience what the solutions would be that would connect with the community. And so, yes, it's both ways, the community shaping the shapeshifters and also the shapeshifters in the current form working towards or laboring towards transforming or shaping or reshaping the community.
Thank you, Nsamu, sorry. I am myself a bit of an artist, and I can definitely see the therapeutic value of art. You mentioned the social ills that were present in the community before COVID-19 and the fact that those social ills were kind of highlighted by the pandemic. Can maybe the shapeshifters tell us, do they see really an impact of art-based projects on the social well-being of the community?
For me personally, I think the community has potential. There's a lot of talents in the community itself. We as the shapeshifters come from this community. We also have our own individual talents, and also we think that there's many of us in the community. So there's a lot of us. There's a lot of people like us in the community, young people that's able to use their talents in a way that can benefit other people.
Thank you so much for your answer. And if I understand correctly, Shapeshifters is really led by the community. It's community driven. What is the future of the project? Do you intend to pass the bucket to other community members, or do you intend to continue the project yourself?
We definitely do want to continue that, and our main goal is to invite other young people from the community to join the Shapeshifters and those who are actually passionate about doing what we're doing, and just to expand it, but not only in the community, but also outside of the community.
And according to your experience, do you see a change? Do you see results from the Shapeshifter project?
We're definitely seeing a huge response from some of the community members, because in our community, we have a thing where the community basically, they don't really want to, most of the community members don't want to support stuff like this, especially, but we're trying to break that chain and just to move past the norm of them being like that.
We are currently busy planning our first project, and it's called My Guardian Sister. And with this project, we are taking in 10 the girls from the community, and we're kind of going to be like the guardian angels and help them with their problems that they're facing, as well as providing things that they in their lives.
This is such a wonderful project. So it's creating guardians within the community to help empower those younger women within the community, right? Okay.
Yeah, because quite apart from the the experience of isolation, it's the historical experience as well that comes into play here, where there's a gap between the young and the old, and the young and the old do not seem to have some way of connecting. The older people, some of the older people have grown cynical, and so they're not really present for the younger people. So there's a gap in terms of care, in terms of mentorship, in terms of support. And I think what the shapeshifters are trying to provide through this process is narrowing that gap between the experienced and those that are coming through without experience, and providing person-to-person support, person-to-person support for younger people, which for most of the young people in the shapeshifters would state that they actually, most of them, did not have any mentorship whatsoever. So they each had to find their own way in life in some way, shape, or form. And so that isolation just leaves young people who are otherwise talented and gifted, totally unresourced. And so the sister to sister is only an example of some kind of, I don't want to call it intervention, but some kind of program that would support other younger people who are coming in.
Thank you, Ntamu. As a music therapist, can you maybe tell us a little bit more about the role of art-based program in developing resilience in such communities?
Yes, because here's the thing, right? Music is how we are born and how we are raised. So we move to rhythm, to sound, whether it's the sound of a railway train passing by. You see kids mimicking the sound of a train as it passes by, whether it's the sound of an articulated truck that is passing by. And in most of these places that people grow up in, sounds in the environment become significant form of instruction, significant form of relating and being. But there's the sounds of birds or whatever sounds there may be. There are also sounds that are specific to human beings. The sounds of mothers, a mother to a child in form of a lullaby. And so there's this inherent musicality that we all have. We don't all have to be Andrea Bocelli and all that kind of thing. So there's this element of music that exists for all of us. So quite apart from music for performance, we work with music for health, music to facilitate well-being, because of the way it lifts our sense of being physiologically and psychologically as well. So even when we're working with a group of younger people, it was more about the impact and the influence of music on their well-being as opposed to production, for the stage. So there's that musical being that we try to access through the music that we make together. It's not performance. The music we co-create, we create together through improvisation and that kind.
Thank you so much, Ntamu. We don't have much time left, so I would just ask to the shapeshifters if they would like to conclude or give any advice to other young ladies that want to do the same kind of project in their own community.
I think it's mostly confidence and knowing exactly what you want to do and finding people that will support you to do this in your community. Yeah, and I also think you should get the mentality out. You should get the me and I mentality out of it. I think that's the thing that mostly stops us from doing things we want to do, because we only think about what we can do, what I want to do, what I want to do, and not thinking about other people that can assist in doing what you want to do. And I think that with us, the special thing that we have is that we have sisters, we have people that can encourage us when we're down. And so, because if you are down, you don't know what to do, obviously you'll be stuck in one place. So now with us, we have like a support system, someone that can push you towards reaching your goal and actually becoming what you want to become. So I think that's also very important.
And another thing, it's not just females, there are males that are involved as well. And the main thing here is just to work together as a team, because you feed off of each other's strengths and stuff like that, and that will make everything better and even stronger. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies. I must say you are really doing an incredible job, and I hope that you're inspiring a lot of other young people to do the same kind of project. I would like now to pass the bucket to my colleague Lloyd Brown, who is going to moderate the Q&A session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Good day, everybody, and thank you for everyone's time for being here and for interesting discussions so far today. I'd like to begin in the spirit of the youth taking control of our own futures by sharing a call for papers, in which I think is especially relevant given that this is Youth Month. And I'm going to post it in the chat for everyone to look at it so that after today we can continue these discussions and continue building on what we've discussed here today. So it's available in chat for anybody who's interested. I would like to begin with a question that we've got for cluster 5.1. How might research conducted inform future responses to crises? From Taesha for cluster 5.1, if anyone would like to answer that.
Thank you very much for that, Lloyd. I have some answers from our group. And one of those answers is just that, okay, what I'm going to say in terms of answering that is I really think we need to be listening to our youth, and I'm just so excited that we have work. Before us was the One Health group, and after us was the Shapeshifters group, because every single one of these groups is looking at community participation. How can we include people from the community? And how do we speak to and get the science and the communities to be working together? And I think in terms of research, that's really where we need to be looking. If there is such a difference in opinion between myself as a professional and our youth as to what picture to use for me, then we really need to be reconsidering what our priorities are. And we need to be working with youth. Yes, we can come in with an idea, but nothing should go forwards and no research should go forwards without input from the community who it most importantly affects. And just taking the time to communicate with the youth. I mean, Constance was particularly pointing out how difficult it is to communicate, and people aren't taking the time to stop and listen and really hear what people have to say. So in terms of what does this mean for the research, and how does this really, what I can say is us as researchers need to get better at listening and taking the time to step out of our research bubbles into the community, to really include the community and let the community guide our research.
Thank you for your response. I have another question for the panel. And the question is, how do I make a proposal to partner with UNICEF and Future Africa for a solution that addresses the academic inequalities in South African public schools?
You want me to take that? So I'm the chair in People, Health and Places at Future Africa, and I think we always want new proposals and people getting involved. So I can offer that emails can come to me, vandamarkotter@up.ac.za, and I will direct it to the correct people in Future Africa. So we're really looking forward to your ideas on this very important issue in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm continuing to... I actually have a question for Kirsty about AAC, about developing solutions for people who struggle with speaking. How do you determine how the voices sound on these devices? Are they built to be mainly functional, or are they built to be somewhat personal, to give everyone a little bit of control over how they want their voice to sound for the world around them?
Thank you for that question, Lloyd. If you could see, Carla, is your camera on? And Sibabalwa, if your camera's not on, put it on, because I'm sure both of you are laughing right now. Unfortunately, there is not in South Africa as much customization as we would like. As you heard, Carla uses a British accent. Sibabalwa was using a slightly, I think it was also a British accent, but a slightly different one. For people who lose their ability to speak later in life and who know they are going to lose their ability to speak, there is a process called voice banking, where you can actually even save your voice, or save a voice of someone whose voice you like or sounds a little bit like you. If you have no voice to start with, then we in South Africa are mostly reliant on voices from across the country, or across the world, I should say, that have been developed. CSIR has also developed some South African accents, and I know they've also worked on Afrikaans. And sorry, I see Prof. Dada also wants to say something there, but basically we're reliant generally on other people. Let me stop, and Prof. Dada wanted to put in there.
Hi, thanks, Kirsty, for that response. I also want to say, Lloyd, that there are some new systems that have been developed that actually communicate in vernacular. So that's another development. And obviously, there are now newer ways of actually ensuring that we can have a voice that's a little bit nuanced to the context that you come from. So, those are kind of technologies that are developing in the IT field. And, the future looks a lot more promising than it did even a year ago. So that's basically where we're at.
Thank you for your responses. I have another question for everyone here today. Why is One Health important to the public?
And I'd like to just nominate Francis to answer that question for us.
We're experiencing load shedding. I think Francis has dropped off the connectivity spectrum.
Okay, Aisha, can you take over, please?
Okay. So, I mean, if you look at what COVID has done right now, it's shown us that diseases, especially zoonotic diseases, are not confined to countries. They're not confined by borders. And they have a major impact socially, economically, in terms of human health. And we also saw that in terms of COVID, where we stopped moving around, it kind of made the environment a little bit healthier. We saw a lot of animal areas rehabilitated by the fact that there was no pollution. So One Health in COVID has really shown us that everything affects everything else. And if we are not aware of the kind of issues that are coming at us, if we're not doing surveillance and we're looking out for these problems, we won't be ready for the next COVID type thing. And that leaves the most vulnerable populations even more vulnerable. We've seen the poorest starving in South Africa during the lockdown, and an inability to actually see to the needs of people because we're not prepared for it. So I think COVID has shown us that One Health, ensuring that we're looking at every aspect, whether it's the environment, human health, the economy, animal health, food security, all of those kind of things affects every single person on this planet. And we need to be looking out for all these future problems so that we can protect those most vulnerable amongst us.
Thank you for your response. I see Dr. Dada has her hand up. Is there something that you want to ask or add, Doctor? All right. So if there are no further questions, I'm not receiving any more questions in the chat. Could I please ask Davi to say a final word on behalf of the startup and management skills for us? Or anyone from the youth and startup management cluster is great. If anyone would like to say a final word on that topic. Maybe Umfile or Tebogo. All right, perhaps if no one would like to speak, Tedson, would you like to share any last thoughts with everyone today?
Thanks there, Lloyd. On my side, I think I've learned a lot from hearing about the different projects within the different clusters. And one thing that came out today is the importance of mentorship to the youth, and for the highly skilled to just pass over that baton to the youth to continue with the good work of not only improving one's own life, but also improving the lives of those around them, their community. So yeah, the theme for the University of Pretoria has really shown in the different projects here, in that people have done science that matters for society. So yeah, I'm really happy about all of the projects that I saw today, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Shapeshifters and Sambu, do you maybe have some final thoughts to share with us today before we move on?
I want to say, like I've said in the chat, it's wonderful to see what participatory research can do, because we're seeing in cluster with augmented communication that the participants are not just recipients of a product of research, that they're actively participating in coming up with solutions because they know the situation best. And that's commendable, especially as we're working towards finding lasting solutions to the many problems and challenges that we face. And to center the communities and the people as experts of their own life world experiences, and having them prototype, implement, evaluate their own issues that are in their community, and that's wonderful to see.
I'll pass over to Dr. Muriel. Sorry, I would like to just pass the floor now to. Sorry. to Dr. Muriel Mafeko, the Deputy Representative of UNICEF South Africa, who would like to say the final word for today.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lloyd, for the introduction. And let me start by congratulating Professor Sheikh Mbowe and the rest of the team at the University of Pretoria, Future Africa, and everyone who's involved in this initiative. We started this journey last year at the height of COVID. And I think everyone agrees that we had no idea really how complex COVID was and how it was going to totally disrupt everything and, you know, disrupt our lives, disrupt our approaches to almost everything, including the way we meet. So here we are now, a year later. The partnership has grown from strength to strength. And I must say we are very, very proud of the partnership that we have with Future Africa. Particularly proud because we are not talking of research for the sake of. We are talking of research for now, research to help us understand what we are going through, but also research to help us address future occurrences of disasters such as what we have been going through with COVID. So we are very proud of the practical nature of the research that has been shared this morning. I managed to join the session when we had the cluster that was looking at the issue of people living with disabilities and reinforcing the fact that disability is not inability, and also a sober reminder that really and truly we have an obligation to make sure that we are inclusive, and inclusive means including everyone, regardless of their circumstances. So it has been an eye-opener for all of us, but it's also a huge opportunity that we have to have practical research inform ideas beyond South Africa. And that's why we love working with the University of Pretoria and with Future Africa, because what we do in South Africa has implications for Africa and beyond. So we're really excited to partner with you, Prof. And I convey UNICEF gratitude for this relationship that we have built and that we will continue to build. We are also very excited that we have young researchers, at least the ones that I've seen this morning. And this is the future for the continent, building that research capacity that is grounded in local knowledge, and that is also listening to the voices of communities. I heard your comment earlier about participatory research. That is exactly what we need. The coming together of experts, coming together with communities, and then making sure that the knowledge translates into change, real change for people. So thank you for an informative morning and really a delight to partner with you. Over.
Thank you for your words, Doctor. I would like to pass on to Prof. Mbowe and ask him if he has any final comments and thoughts to share about the morning's discussions about today.
Thank you so much, Chairperson Lloyd. It was indeed great. I could not emphasize enough what Muriel and other colleagues from UNICEF and my colleague from University of Pretoria has already said about the excitement, the level of engagement, the energy, the foresight that has been discussed today. It shows just a tiny bit of what you achieve, I guess, because what you did in the ground could not be accommodated for a short workshop that we have today. I would like to thank all of you, the young people who was in this talk, all the colleagues who was really, engaged in this process. My final thought would be maybe two prongs. One is what you just achieved, what you just did was not the easiest thing to achieve. It's not easy to do work in transdisciplinarity. I do not want to demotivate my colleagues, but when you work on transdisciplinarity, you double the pain, but you have the gain. What you guys get is something you share with all the hundreds of people. We tend to be selfish when we do science. It's my paper, it's my publication. You have to be really generous to get your science and connect the dot with others to create something that brings you to the next level. But the credit is diluted among many hundreds. So you double the pain because you do an additional effort in understanding the other discipline, in engaging with them, in spending time, in doing co-design, going to communities. But then the gain is something that belongs to everyone. And that sense of community is what we want to establish through the network. And Wanda and Shakila and others are also supporting that. So we have to give you kudos for paving the way for adults to show how collaborative work is meaningful for the transformation of the continent. The second thing, which is my last point, is we're talking about the future Africa, the future of Africa, the transformation of Africa. There are two ways you can look at the future. One is to prepare the future for yourself, to see what's likely the future will be for Africa. More poverty, maybe. More health crisis, yes. Environmental problem, yes. And now trying to prevent those to happen. You know, what needs to be done differently to make sure that we are not facing a future with all those challenges. But there's another way to prepare ourselves for the future is to know that those challenges will happen anyway. So we better work on ourselves and make sure we are more resilient, we get the right knowledge, and we are practical in delivering the knowledge. Muriel, thank you for that pragmatism, and make sure that when things happen, we are ready to face it. And that is the most likely pathway we're going through. The world is interconnected and nobody is safe until everyone is safe. So let's work together and create a bottom-up approach that includes all the engagement that the youth needs to put in place to make sure that the future crisis in Africa will come and face the barrier of knowledge and the barrier of willingness to address them. And that's starting from you, the young generation. I'm so glad that this collaboration with UNICEF has given us this opportunity, and we are looking forward to continuous collaboration and make sure that the higher education plays its bits in responding to the African challenge. Thank you so much, everyone. Over to you.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you so much, Professor Mabo. Muriel for UNICEF, thank you so much for being here, your team, your staff that have been collaborating with us. Thank you so much also for all our cluster coordinators that have been involved in this project this past year. But most of all, I wish to thank each and every facilitator, student facilitator, as well as student representative and youth representative that engaged in this forum today. This was entirely your event. And as you know, I asked you, let's not go into theory. I want to hear about experiences. We want to hear about your passions. And what do you think the role is for the youth? And how can we reimagine education tomorrow? Once again, our time, our turn, and our future. It is amazing how time zoom past while we're doing these online engagements. And here we are at the end of the Youth Forum. I see there's a hand up from Andile. Is that regarding the group photo?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Great. So if we could ask everybody that is on the Zoom call, please put on your cameras for the group photo. I know we have many guests viewing on the online stream, so we cannot capture you, but I will ask Elsie to please, if you could take a photo of everybody here. While this is happening, I'd just like to bring it to your attention that at the end of this closing, even though it ends at 1 o'clock, there is a live recorded presentation play that will be played for you. It's about 37 minutes long. It's on something we can all identify with. It's an Auntie Covidia live performance. So seeing how Aunt Covidia impacted all our lives. So please, when you're done, don't go yet. have a coffee, have a tea, and enjoy the play. We thank you so much.
Dear Auntie Covidia, sanitize.
Mask.
Social distance.
Frustration. Do I have COVID? Family meeting.
Fear.
Fever.
Stay inside. 1.5 meters apart.
No alcohol.
Shortness of breath. Loss of taste.
Loss of smell. Loss of job.
Money. Stolen.
Food parcels. Stolen. Billions.
Stolen. Money. Do I have COVID?
Social distance.
Mask.
Sanitize. Online school.
Sanitize. Synchronize.
Sanitize. Symbolize. Sanitize. 1.5 meters apart.
Sanitize. Isolation.
No cigarettes.
Tiredness. Sanitize.
Fever. Loss of taste. Do I have COVID?
Do I have COVID?
Do I have COVID?
Do I have COVID?
Do I have COVID? Do I have COVID? Sanitize. Sanitize.
Social distance. Sanitize. Social distance.
Sanitize.
Social distance.
Mask.
Sanitize.
Sanitize. Sanitize.
Sanitize.
Sanitize.
Soap and water.
Sanitize.
Jig, spirits, cheap.
No.
Why not?
It doesn't work.
Why not?
Wrong ingredients.
Wrong ingredients. Wrong ingredients.
Sanitizer. Expensive. 350, eh? 350.
Jig, spirits, cheap. Has alcohol. Wrong kind of alcohol.
Wrong kind of alcohol.
Wrong kind of alcohol.
Dangerous. Sanitizer. Alcohol. Throat. Savannah. Hey! Black label. Savannah. Hey! Savannah. Hey! Black label.
Wrong kind of alcohol. Wrong kind of alcohol.
Drink sanitizer.
Oh, sanitizer, rubbing alcohol. Savannah, drinking alcohol.
Oh, sanitizer is rubbing alcohol.
Yes, sanitizer has isopropyl and ethanol. Isopropyl.
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 Sanitizer, isopropyl or ethanol alcohol. Spirits.
Spirits have methanol. Methanol.
Does this mean you can sanitize your dirty hands? No, because sanitizer doesn't necessarily replace soap and water.
Although I always try to make sure that I get it all over my hands.
Also, don't forget to get it in between your fingers.
And should I wait for my hands to dry before I touch things?
Oh,
yes.
yeah. 8 o'clock.
Family meeting!
It has been a week since we declared the coronavirus pandemic a national disaster and announced a package of extraordinary measures to combat this great public health emergency. Most South Africans have accepted the restrictions that have been placed on their lives and taken the responsibility of changing their behavior so that our country can emerge even stronger from this disaster.
Since the national state of disaster was declared, we have put in place a range of regulations and directives. These regulations have restricted international travel, prohibited gatherings of more than 100 people, closed schools and other educational institutions, and restricts the sale of alcohol. We call on everyone to
stay at home, avoid public places,
and cancel all social activities.
Over the past few weeks, as we have been implementing these measures, the global crisis has deepened. It is clear from the development of the disease in other countries, as well as from our own modeling, that immediate, swift and extraordinary action is required if we are to prevent a human catastrophe of enormous proportions in our country. Without decisive action, the number of people infected will rapidly increase. from a few hundred to tens of thousands, and within a few weeks to hundreds of thousands. As a consequence, the National Coronavirus Command Council has decided to enforce a 21-day lockdown with effect from midnight on Thursday the 26th of March. The human cost of delaying this act would be far, far greater.
The action we are taking now will have lasting economic costs, but we are aware that the cost of not acting now will be far greater. We are determined to protect the lives and livelihoods of our people above all else. In the days, weeks, and months ahead, our resolve, our resourcefulness, and our unity as a nation will be tested like never before. I call on all of us, one and all, to have patience, to be courageous, and above all, to show compassion. Let us never despair, for we are a nation at one, and together we will surely prevail. May God protect our people. Nkosi sikelele Africa. Murena buluka sichaba sahesu. God save Africa. God bless South Africa. Muzimu fatucheza Africa. Osikatekisa Africa. Sorry, have you seen
smooth. It had to be here somewhere.
Peter. I always go to that salon. They really are the best. My hair always looks exquisite. But like everything, it must have a flaw. And this flaw's name is Peter. Peter sells the hair products for the salon, but he's always trying to get me to buy his own products that he sells on the side. Those are the ones he really wants you to buy. But I don't trust those things. They look like they come in tomato sauce bottles and they don't have any labels on them. But wait, he sanitizes these bottles. Yes, sanitizes them about 5 times in the 1 hour that I'm there. And I'm pretty sure he makes that himself too, because it also doesn't have a label. You know how sanitizer is supposed to have a label that tells you the ingredients, the instructions for use, the alcohol percentage, the expiry date, the full address of the manufacturer, and the batch number. But Peter doesn't know any of that. And do you know how I know he doesn't know any of that? Because the smell of that thing is so strong. If I didn't know any better, I'd think he was one of those people who puts methylated spirits in his own sanitizer. That would explain his terrible eyesight. Whenever I go in there, he thinks that he's speaking to me, but really he's looking at the door. Anyway, so today I go in there, and Peter is on a lunch break. Finally, I think, a break for me. But no, not Peter. Just as I sit down to do my hair, boom, he faints. Faints on the floor. Now he's lying there talking about how he's tired of being a superhero or something. Apparently, he's in a psychiatric ward now. Personally, I always knew that's where he'd end up.
Hey, I am tired up till here. I have been working here for 6 years. But John decided he wants to employ this new guy, Peter. I am the cleaner of this salon, but every time I go behind the counter to clean, Peter tells me, Sissy, don't touch, I'm going to clean it. And then he gives me this bottle that he wants me, I must use it to clean the shop, and it doesn't even have a label. And do you know what? The other day, Peter, he goes behind the shop, and I follow him. I catch him red-handed. Do you know what this man was doing? He was putting salt inside the sanitizer. And he doesn't know that I know is to extract the alcohol. And his breath was just giving me a headache and making me dizzy. I think he drinks that thing. And let me tell you what happened earlier on today. Peter, causing chaos, asking me, Sissy, where's my thing? Sissy, headache, Sissy, dizzy. And then, boom, he faints on the floor. One day, that Peter's gonna die because of that stupid sanitizer, and I won't even go to that stupid cleaner now.
Yo, let me tell you, today was so chaotic. All I saw was red, blue lights flashing everywhere. You will never guess what happened.
There was such a commotion outside where we stayed. You know the salon across the road from our house? Yeah, there was just all these people all around there, and you know the guy Peter? The one who just started working there. Yeah, they wheeled him out on a hospital bed.
You see, Mina, I was in shock when I found out that it was that guy Peter who was causing all of this chaos. You know almost that guy who's always drunk. Yes, apparently he only had one drink 2 days before the incident, which means he's been drunk for 2 days straight from only just one drink. Also, they said that he hasn't had food in 6 days. That's almost a week, Moss.
And even though he hasn't really been eating, he's been vomiting for 3 whole days. Plus he keeps complaining about a headache and constant abdominal pain. But that's not even the strangest part. He's also just been coughing non-stop.
Yo, they say Peter was coughing so much that his neighbor, who lives from across the road, could hear him. She says that if I could listen properly, even me, who lives down the road, would be able to hear Peter. It was so bad.
So they actually had to put an oxygen mask on him with all his coughing. But then, just as they were about to wheel him away around the corner, oh, you're so disgusting, you'll never guess what happened.
So now they're taking Peter out on the this hospital bed, and we just see drips from the bed. Apparently, this guy lost control of himself and he peed everywhere. It was so disgusting, man. Yes.
I just had to know what was going on here because this is not some normal hangover. So I ran across the street to the paramedics and asked them, what's happening with this guy? Do you know what they said? They said he drank sanitizer. That explains it.
Peter manona gore ke sa sanitizer go sa lunung yena o so kana botsa Peter wa complain gore tshwere ke mala he go gore Peter wa dronkega man ke mo romele gae wa ntse ba msina pro John ke di khutlela di dore Peter today he arrives at work looking like he's completely drunk and I think to myself I need to put this situation under control. I walked up to him and I said, Peter, how many fingers can you see? Peter. One, hand, two. But I can't seem to test the second one. Get it, nothing. As I go to finish doing a tricep. The next thing you know, oh, fast, he fainted right in front of Pangwabantu. The cleaning lady called an ambulance. He started having seizures. Didn't know what to do. When the paramedics got there, they resuscitated him. And they said that if they hadn't gotten there on time, we would have lost him.
Ramaphosa, Siyatela, level 1, level 1, level 1, 1, 1. Ramaphosa, Siyatela. Level 1 is South Africa. Ramaphosa, Siyatela. Level 1, level 1, level 1, 1, 1. Ramaphosa, Siyatela. Level 1 is South Africa. Ramaphosa, Siyatela. Level 1, level 1, level 1, 1, 1. Ramaphosa, Siyatela. Level 1 is South Africa.
Sorry, so sorry. I'm just so clumsy. That was good.
Oh no, sorry, ma'am.
You can take it actually. I'm not really buying sanitizer.
I actually don't buy sanitizers.
Yeah, I don't really either. I mean, it's just so expensive. And do you know what I heard? I heard that some manufacturers had to actually recall some batches of sanitizer because they had the incorrect ingredients, because they didn't put risk statements, and they didn't even have the proper labels.
Imagine, that's why I don't buy sanitizers anymore. I use my grandmother's secret recipe from back in the day. It's used to disinfect and works for all skin types.
I didn't even know it was possible to make your own sanitizer.
Let me show you. Jik?
Yes,
Jik kills anything and everything. You can just go around and get lemons because you know they're natural, they work for anything and everything in this world.
Okay.
And glycerin. Glycerin because you want moisture.
Right,
so,
okay.
Glycerin. Essential oils. These things, they smell snacks.
Yes,
they smell so bad. You need to put a few drops in there.
Oh, sounds great. So I take it you just add some kind of alcohol to it and then it's good to fight COVID.
Spirit, alcohol, just put spirit in there and you'll be fine.
That makes so much sense because spirits actually has methanol alcohol in it and it's so much cheaper. I'd actually like to buy some of this product. Can I get your number?
Yeah. We've been standing here for so long.
Is he the only one here?
I don't know. Stop.
Excuse me, ma'am. May I help you?
Oh yes, finally, Monica, tell me.
Hi. I have this rash on my hands, and it's actually on my back and on my elbow as well, and it's very painful.
Can you see how bad it is? No one wants to marry her with hands like that. The ring will get stuck on that finger.
It looks itchy and painful. Does it itch a lot?
Oh, so much. Last night I couldn't even sleep.
Haibo, you need to help her as in now. I need a son-in-law. I only have daughters.
Ma'am, has there been any changes in terms of what you use?
No.
Wise, maybe soap?
No.
It looks like a rash turning into eczema. I'll give you an ointment for that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
This man is slow like a sloth. I'll just go get something.
Hi, Bosera!
Oh, Gladys!
Hi, Bosera, how are you?
Good, how are you, my friend? She has this bad thing happening with her.
Mom, why are you telling me?
Everyone can see, it's not a secret. Hi, Gladys.
Hi, Auntie Gladys. Hi.
Oh, God. Turn around. Can you see how bad it looks? I think she needs to put those gloves.
Latex. No, my teacher said that the gloves are good for protection, but if you have a rash, it makes your hands sweat, and that's bad for the skin.
She's been using my sanitizer. Of course, I always tell her, put more, but she doesn't listen.
Monica, you must listen to your mother now.
Yes, Auntie Gladys, but at school they said you must buy sanitizer from an approved manufacturer. Otherwise, the ingredients can be wrong. And they also said you can get a rash from using low-quality hand sanitizer.
Monica, my sanitizer works.
It's very good, the sanitizer.
Excuse me, ma'am. What sanitizer are you talking about?
My sanitizer?
Has she been using that sanitizer?
Of course, this is my friend, I support her.
Ma'am, why didn't you bring this up when I asked you about the changes in her routine?
Because this is not bad, it's good.
So what do you put in that sanitizer?
Normal stuff.
What stuff? What kind of alcohol do you use?
Spirit here.
Ma'am, you do not just use any kind of alcohol into your hand sanitizer. Different skins react differently to different kinds of alcohol. You can put a minimum of 70% of alcohol into your hand sanitizer. Methanol, which is found in spirits, causes hallucination as well as hay fever, which might explain your coughing.
It was change of season.
Oh, can't you feel that it's change of season now?
Bring your sanitizer, let's see.
I am sure yours is better. I'm sure.
You want to go?
How? These boys, they think they know everything just because they got a degree. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. I'm sure yours is good.
Let me see.
Let me read it.
Okay, read it, Sarah.
Hey, I see a full list of ingredients. It's approved by the SAP. Ethanol, 80% in aqua solution. Distilled water.
I use water.
Yes. 1.45% glycerol, 0.125% hydrogen peroxide. No colorants or fragrance.
Sarah, you know something's wrong. These things, they smell snacks. You need to put fragrances.
I know, I have.
Ma'am!
You just boys what?
You do not just put fragrances into hand sanitizer.
Why?
It might make it less effective.
Then that means that your sanitizer won't work.
And why?
I don't know.
We are not talking to you. You are how can you be using them? You cannot talk to my child.
Eczema soda.
COVID-19 is worsening globally.
Received COVID-19 vaccines.
Access vaccines priority.
Vaccines phase rollout.
Phase 1.
Frontline and healthcare.
Phase 2.
Essential workers. Congregated settings.
Over 60.
Phase 3.
All adults. Register. Dear Auntie Covidia.
Auntie, the world as we know it is about to come to an end. Yes, President Cyril Ramaphosa put the whole country under lockdown so that they can install 5G network into network towers.
I heard something about that too. I heard about this voice note that was Sifiso Mkhadi speaking, and he was saying about how it's not coronavirus that we're fighting here. It is this thing from those 5G towers which they put up in lockdown.
Oh. They needed to keep the environment empty and secure the perimeters around the network towers. According to this document, they sent to the police station commander I work under.
What? So then there's definitely something happening here, because my pastor on YouTube started saying something the other day about how it's the electromagnetic disturbances that is what causes the virus to spread faster, but it's also why it can mutate. So now I sent him a message. I said, Pastor, you cannot be spreading this kind of information to people all over the internet.
Yes.
But then he came back with that voice note from Sifiso Mkhadi. And now that I think about it, my brother helped them work on those 5G towers. 2 weeks later, he had COVID. So what must I do? Must I close all the doors and family? But now this is the worst part. My cousin sent me a diagram from Facebook of the 5G microchip that they put inside the vaccine, which is how they can spy on you. I got the vaccine 3 weeks ago, and then they spied on me for 3 weeks.
Yes. They're distributing this vaccine, pretending as if it wasn't there at the beginning of their mission. They're using it to lure people out of hiding. Some people no longer trust how safe it is outside.
I don't trust how safe it is outside.
Apparently, when you connect your cell phone to this 5G network, it gives the new dictatorship government access to your personal information. People are going to be tracked everywhere they go.
Listen to me. I am not crazy. That's what everyone is saying. They're saying you must get the vaccine to prevent getting COVID-19, but that is a lie. The microchip exists. The vaccine is just a vessel for the microchip to be implanted and to track us. But now, how is this all possible, you may ask? Well, the microchip, it gets into your DNA and it spreads everywhere, and there is no way to remove it. So eventually, you start to become like a hybrid. Not even a full human being anymore.
Let me tell you. So I got vaccinated about 2 weeks ago. And ever since, weird things have been happening to me. First of all, my arm doesn't feel natural. But I let that go because I just got vaccinated. But then here's a weird thing. I went to the nearest pharmacy to get my over-the-counter medication. As I was about to pay, they told me they already had my details. That time I've never gotten medication from that pharmacy ever. I swear. Here's another weird thing. I was online shopping on a new site. And as I was about to check out my card, I saw my card details already there. That time I've never put in my details there ever. I swear. So I think it's true. It's true what they say. This vaccine is the one that has a microchip that tracks us and gets our personal information. It's the only thing that makes sense. Nobody has access to my phone or any of my devices for that kind of information. Your mom. COVID-19 is really just a front to put these tracking devices on people. And I know that 5G network is the one that's going to activate this microchip. You know that new network that's on the cell phone? Yes, that one.
They say when you get the vaccine, you start to see strange people outside your house, looking at you, watching you, analyzing everything you do. And when you leave, they follow you secretly. So it must be true. There is a microchip in the vaccine that's going to track us. You know, I always said we were being watched, and now I finally know how. My life is not mine anymore. In fact, they probably know that I'm speaking to you right now. So if you don't hear from me again, You'll know why.
I'm not going to stand here and look for answers I already have.
Yes,
My brother is at that mental institution because of the COVID-19 vaccine. And I have proof.
Okay, let's hear
right
it.
after taking it, he would say things that didn't make sense.
Right.
And do you know what we did? We went to a prophet, which made things 10 times worse.
Yes.
It was as if they infected his blood with demons and spirits. That vaccine altered his DNA. He went missing several times, and when he returned, he was a totally different person.
I swear that's because he's a
No! You see, the prophet and the vaccine people, they are here. They work with the government as part of the age-old population control plan. They want to kill all Africans so they can take over our natural resources. And do you know what? There is a proper vaccine, but it was only given to the white people.
And welcome back to Carrie's Calamity Corner. I'm your host, Carrie Ludford, and today we are so excited to be debunking your COVID-19 myths. I must say, I really was very impressed by the different letters that you wrote to Auntie Covidia online.
That's me.
And we're so excited to have her in studio today to debunk them. We'll get to you now, Auntie Covidia. Thank you.
Hi everyone.
But before we do that, let's give a warm round of applause to our live studio audience. Give yourself. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now would you please join me in welcoming our very special guest, Auntie Agatha Covidia from the UNICEF One Health Organization. Give her a hand, everybody. Give her a hand. Auntie Covidia, thank you so much for joining us in studio today.
Before we start, I want to say follow me on my Instagram at Auntie Covidia, on my Twitter, my Facebook, my YouTube, all the same name. It's so easy to remember. Yes.
Okay, I do think that all of Auntie Covidia's information will be available right after the show. If you like to sit down, Auntie Covidia, we can just get right started. So, Auntie Covidia, a lot of people were really concerned about the link between 5G network and COVID-19. Could you shed some light on this?
5G cannot cause COVID-19. 5G was in development a long time before COVID-19 even existed.
So there's no scientific proof to suggest that a cellular network can affect our biological cells. Well, that is very encouraging here. I do believe that we have a question from the audience for you, Auntie Covidia. Hi, ma'am. Would you please tell us your name and where you're from?
Yes. My name is Angela from Bushbuckridge, and I'd like to say I disagree with Auntie Covidia because there is actually scientific evidence. I saw a diagram on Facebook, on Facebook, and it shows this whole COVID-19 play, that this microchip is we're going to get it through the vaccine, and it will track us and our personal information. Your personal information too. So what does Auntie Covidia have to say?
Okay, so the diagram in question that we're speaking about is actually on Auntie Covidia's Instagram page right now. So if anybody wanted to get out their phones and have a look at it, you can see it right over there. So Auntie Covidia,
there is no such thing as a microchip, and there's no evidence to support the microchip. It can't track you, it can't get your information. That is not possible from a vaccine. Yes, the vaccine works to help your body to fight COVID-19.
I explained that diagram.
So we do actually have the diagram. Auntie Covidia, if you'd like to follow me to the screen. So here is our screen, and we actually have the diagram right here. So this diagram was circulated all over Facebook. Auntie Covidia, what are we looking at?
Yes, I have gotten to the bottom of this diagram, and this is a bass guitar pedal.
Pedal.
Yes.
Give COVID
No. That is part of a musical instrument. It has nothing to do with COVID-19.
And I'm sure all of the musicians in the audience will be very glad to hear that. I do believe we have another question, Auntie Covidia. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lenny. So you say it doesn't track us, but I heard it will change your DNA. Also, I heard that this vaccine is used to kill Africans so that they can take over our gold, our platinum, and our diamonds. We want to know the truth. Yes,
you should want to know.
Want to know.
But not
want to know
that. Okay.
Okay. All right. Want to know. We want to know. We want to colonize us again. We want to colonize us.
Yes, we absolutely do want to get Okay, Auntie Corinne will deal with your questions in a calm and orderly manner in a second. Okay, are we rolling again? Are we rolling? Okay, just give me a second. And welcome back to Carrie's Calamity Corner. I'm Carrie Lovegood, and Auntie Corinne is going to be explaining to us the link between colonialism and the vaccine.
Epidemic diseases do not respect borders. Yes, they affect everybody, regardless of your race, your age, your gender, or your ethnicity. And there is no link, absolutely none, to colonialism.
Both black and white we get
the same.
Yes. I think what Auntie Covidia is essentially saying is that the vaccine is made to protect all races and not just one particular race.
These rumors, they stem from fear and panic because people don't know enough about these topics. But the government is committed to saving lives. You can visit their website at gov.co.za. I've actually said this on my Instagram before. It's still available if you want to go and have a look at it. Yeah, all of you.
I do believe that is all we have time for today. Thank you, Auntie Covidia, for joining us in studio. And let's give a warm round of applause to our live studio audience. Thank you for joining us. Yes. Thank you, and thank you, Auntie Covidia, for answering our questions. I'm Carrie Lovegood, signing out. Cut it.